Defense made a motion for a mistrial. Prosecutor was up to some fuckery. Potentially damaging evidence, no basis for it. The judge specifically said, do not ask that question. Do not use that as evidence. She walked right down the path and asked the question. It may be over on Tuesday morning. Batman Bruce Wayne bitch snitch. Gerald Brooks, your constitution does not apply to me because I'm a sovereign citizen, a traveler on the land, I'm a Moorish empire or whatever, bitch snitch. Because they're so fucking absurd. If you want to be a sovereign citizen, just do yourself a favor first. Go to YouTube here and just get every sovereign citizen that's ever been before. Find me one that won. God dang, you're right. Don't go down this. It's not the path. Don't have time for stupidity. Some clever dick on the internet didn't find the great loophole in all of the world's law. Bitch snitch. God dang, you're right. God dang, you're right. Traveler on the land. God dang, you're right. Moorish empire. Traveler on the land. Bitch snitch. Moorish empire. God dang, you're right. Traveler on the land. Bitch snitch. The late evening U.S. people. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. How are you doing? I am glad you are here with me, Legal Vices, on this Friday. It is Friday, November 1st. We all survived Halloween, I suppose. That's all good. Hey, everybody. We are going to be starting day 1.1 of the LEILANI Simon trial. Now, those of you that were here about 3 weeks ago, you may have a little scratching in the back of your head thinking, I think we've already done this. Well, yes, we have. Quite frankly, we did this about 3 weeks ago, right before the Sarah Boone trial started. We weren't sure whether the Sarah Boone was going or not because of jury problems and hurricanes and whatnot. So we started this trial. I wanted to cover them both originally, but they happened to come before the judges and the courts and start on exactly the same day. We made the decision to run with Boone. Now that Boone is over, we can address this. Like I said, we did the opening statements about 3 weeks ago, but that was 3 weeks ago. So I think we need to go over the closing statements again to sort of refresh our memory and start. So we're just going to start all over again. Pretend that 3 weeks ago didn't happen. And the good thing about that is I'll probably be less animated and cursy than I was the first time around. So, like I said, we could just go ahead and jump into where we left off, but I don't think many of us remember the opening statements. So we'll start with the opening statements again and just pretend 3 weeks ago never happened. We'll get into it really quickly here. Today, first of all, is a good day. Why is today a good day? Well, because we are currently on day 48 of the emotional support potato pig dog streak. Will we unleash the emotional support potato pig dogs? That is entirely up to you. If we hit the goal, we hit the goal. That if they are unleashed officially, if we get to that point. And again, it's entirely up to you whether we get there. It is November. It is a new month. The goal continues. The streak continues. So that will be awesome if we get to do that. But like I said, if we do, we do. And also there is a new goal. There is a new goal here, which is a good weekend goal. Now, what the goal is, it's a new thing that YouTube does. If we have a goal here, if we get 20 yellow super chats, if we get was that like 10 and above, $10 and above, if we get 20 of those during the course of the show, we'll do an extra hour. That's just a fun little goal there. I only plan on doing 2 hours, but if through some miracle we happen to hit that goal, then I'll throw in an extra hour because it's Friday night. And so 100 gets the dogs, 20 of the yellow things gets an extra hour. Those are our bonus goals for today. And we have our like and subscribe poll. Again, we're not going to have any bingo cards for this, just straight up. This is not a bingo card type trial. This is a heavy, uncomfortable, terrible trial. So no bingo cards, but we'll have fun in our own special way when we can. Our like and subscribe poll today. Again, it's just a little reminder for you to hit the like and subscribe button. We've currently got 178 people here, 97 likes. Come on, people. Tell your friends about us. Tell your friends. Get them here. And hit that like button. Half of you haven't done your job. Like exactly half. So smash that like button. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And if you have, double check to make sure, as always. And then and only then take the like and subscribe poll. Our like and subscribe poll is, will we unlock the emotional support potato pig dog cam for the 49th day in a row? Will we unlock the emotional support potato pig dog cam for the 49th day in a row? Well, the answers are never going to give you up, never going to let you down, never going to run around and desert you, and never going to make you cry. So choose your answer for whether or not we're going to unleash the emotional support potato pig dogs for the 49th day. And we'll talk about a few things here, and then we will jump straight into the opening statements. This trial sort of has all the trigger warnings, just all the trigger warnings. If you're triggered by anything bad happening to children, just take that into account, because this woman has literally done really horrible things to children. And somehow I've managed to avoid the outcome of the case. I know what the outcome of the case is, but I haven't officially heard it, if you know what I mean. Woman is guilty AF. And I can only hope the jury saw that, but I can't imagine a world or a dimension in the multiverse where they would go, oh yeah, that's cool. She's not guilty. But we're going to watch and see if they get it right. And Claudia Harrigan says, hello from Long Island, New York. Well, hello, Long Island, New York from Busan, Korea. Suki says, I saw a little about this case and was hoping you would cover it. I did. This is our second start at this trial, so we're covering it. And we're gonna do it every day until we get through I think it was a 6, 7, 8, 9 day trial. We'll get through it. And Chaos Coordinator says, first. Been there, done that, says, can we hit the goal? We'll hit the goal, chat. And Deaf Otter says, Jeff, what are your thoughts on the Delphi trial? I haven't been following it. I've had way too much going on in my life and work and my little corner of YouTube. I haven't paid attention to it. Also, the only things I've heard about it is occasionally I catch clips of Andrea Burkhart losing her shit. So I assume it's going very, very badly in one way or another. I need to see how it's going. I heard the prosecution rested, and I've seen Andrea Burkhart lose it a few times. So I'm guessing the prosecution was terrible. So that's all I can tell you. Lowlands Angie with the 11.99 euros. Well, because it's November. It is November. And thank you for celebrating November. November 1st, rabbits, as they say. Island with a 10. If by survive Halloween, you mean lock myself out of my office, lose my keys, and burn the heck out of my mouth on soothing tea, then yes, I survived. Do the doggos have my keys? Also, cool sign. That's one of our F at Friday Temu shopping spree signs that was forced upon me by, I can't remember who forced me to buy that sign. But all right, we have the emotional support potato pig dogs locked and loaded, and we will take care of business accordingly at the appropriate time. If we unleash that particular achievement, we've got our little goal running there, our little shenanigan goal. And with that, it's time to restart this trial, the trial of LEILANI Simon. The audio is a little weak because, courts have lost the technology to have good sound, but it picks up a little bit later. Oh, and Mavia says, did you join the Johnny Somali hunting parties? Get your licks in. I'm on the opposite corner of the country, but about 14 hours from now, I will be on a train to Seoul, and I will have my camera with me. So, yeah, there you go. Just take that for what it's worth. All right, let's get into this. The normal trial rules will apply. We'll flash up super chats as they come in. We'll address them when we get the opportunity. We try not to talk over the court or what's going on there as much as possible. And let's bring it on up. This is a rough trial. Just judging from the story and the opening statements. This is our defendant. She got off to a bad start. LEILANI Simon got off to a bad start in that she was crying. She was weeping openly as the jury was coming in. So the first real, they've seen her during the jury selection process and whatnot, but the first in actual trial experience they have with her is seeing her crying on the stand. So perhaps not the greatest of starts for her. Then they did some stuff and waited for some stuff, and now the prosecution is ready to begin his case. This judge is also a good judge. I like this judge. She ranks right up there with the Sarah Boone judge, a take no excrement type judge. And Starry Eyes with the $5. Love y'all. This is too hard for me today. My son's heavenly birthday. Oh, happy Friday, all. Peace and cheers. All right. Thank you, Star. And again, I blame no one for peace outing today on this. It's up to you because it is incredibly heavy stuff. That having been said, we are now going to proceed with the opening statements by the prosecution in the Georgia versus LEILANI Simon trial. The opening statements, day one.
This is Quentin Simon, at about a year and a half old, a little bit over that, 20 months.
Okay, just very briefly, the absolute bare bones of what's happening. This woman here, LEILANI Simon, is accused of murdering her 20-month-old son, possibly in a drug-induced state. She allegedly threw him in a dumpster, and he was taken to a landfill and crushed, and the searchers found his body. Meanwhile, she's saying she had nothing to do with it. He wandered away. They want him to come back, and she's having drinks and going out and partying with her mom and stuff. That's it in a nutshell. The prosecution's going to rehash those points and raise some others as we go along. Nicola Maxwell coming into the £2 right before the beginning. I love you, Jeff, you beautiful man. Vice Lord, well, thank you very much, Nicola Maxwell. I love you too, you beautiful woman. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, this might be the last of the levity we see because we're going to push play. Little Quentin, a little bit over 20 months at the time.
Like all children, he was blameless, he was innocent, and he was beautiful. And like all children, he was totally defenseless, totally and completely dependent on the adults in his life to take care of him and to look out for his safety. And the evidence in this case will show that the defendant violated that trust, that most basic, sacred trust of a parent, in the most horrible way. In the middle of the night, she killed him, her own son, got in her car with his body, drove to a dumpster, and threw him away like a piece of trash. She would go home, go to sleep like everything was normal, and wake up the next morning and report it to the police as an abduction. I woke up, my front door was open, and my child was missing. And the story started to fall apart pretty quickly because of good, solid police work. But she would go on to tell a series of evolving lies over several weeks, only moving from one lie to the next as the police picked apart the first lie and presented her with the evidence that made the first lie untenable. So now it's time to move on to lie number 2, 3, and 4. And as they're doing this with her, they're also searching for his body, which they ultimately discovered about 6 weeks after his disappearance in a local landfill, in pieces, unfortunately. And as a result of all of that police work and investigative efforts, which I think you'll be quite proud of when you hear about them in detail, the defendant is charged with his murder. So that's sort of the 50,000-foot view, the bluff, the bottom line up front for the military folks here. A little more detail on what happened, what the evidence will show. The 2 days that we're primarily concerned with here are October 4th and 5th of 2022, specifically the night of October 4th, moving into the morning of October 5th. Now, at that time, and I'll try to go slow for those of you who are taking notes. At that time, the defendant is living here on the west side of Savannah, jurisdiction of the Chatham County Police Department.
Google Earth is watching.
In his house that's roughly in the center, with an in-ground swimming pool in the back. It's on Buckhalter Road, 535, Buckhalter Road. She had most recently lived in North Carolina, where she had met and lived with her most recent boyfriend, Daniel Youngkin, who you'll hear about. And some months before October of 2022, they had moved down and were living in this house at 535 Buckhalter. Now, the house belonged to the defendant's mother, Billy Joe Howell, who you see here, and her husband, Thomas Howell, who is not the defendant's father, but is her stepfather. Also living in the house at that time is the defendant's brother, Paul Simon. They have the same mother and the same father. And Daniel Youngkin, her boyfriend from North Carolina, and the defendant's 3 children. October of 2022, she has 3 children by 3 different men. The oldest is Zane Wharton. I think he was roughly about 3 years old at the time. Zane has been through a lot with her. He's her firstborn son. And I expect you'll hear testimony that she considered him her ride or die. That's her guy. Sky Youngkin is an infant on the far right there. That is her youngest child by Daniel Youngkin. And in the middle was Quentin. Quentin was her child by a man named Henry Bubba Moss Jr. You'll hear that she'd had kind of a tumultuous relationship with Mr. Moss, that they had split before she even knew she was pregnant with Quentin, and that he initially didn't even believe that she was pregnant when she told him, and that he was never part of Quentin's life at all. And I expect you'll hear some testimony about the way that background influenced the way that she treated Quentin. But you're supposed to love all your kids equally. You're supposed to treat them all the same. I expect you'll hear some testimony that didn't happen. When she treated Quentin differently, and not in a good way.
Poor little kid.
Here's a house in the street. The master bedroom where defendant's mother, Billy Joe Howell, and her stepfather, Thomas Howell, lived is over here in the 2-story portion of the house, but on the first floor. Brother Paul Simon's bedroom is upstairs, and you'll hear in one of the defendant's interviews, she'll say, when you're up in that room, you can't really hear anything that's going on downstairs. It's kind of its own layer up there. Now, the defendant, Daniel, and the 3 children lived in a bedroom right through this front door. I think there was some sort of addition or something on the house at one point. This bedroom that they live in appears to be like a converted one-time living room or something like that. If you step through that front door, this is what you see. You see a couch in the foreground. You see a desk behind that. And then on the far wall there, you see a bed. That's the defendant and Daniel Youngkin's bed. If you pan to the right, you'll see a closet door here. And then it's hard to make out in this picture, but beyond this closet door is a door into a bathroom that then feeds into the dining room. And that is the only way to get from this room to the main body of the house. You see a race car bed there? That's where Zane slept. We further pan to the right. You can see that race car bed completely, and you see a projector on the wall, evidently for supposed for watching movies or something when you're sitting on the couch. And then if you pan into that right-hand corner, you see this packageway. That's immediately to the right as you go in that front door. And that's where Quentin slept. That was Quentin's bed. Now, that sort of sets the scene as to who's living in this house and where they're sleeping. Before we come back to the morning of October 4th, I want to talk to you about what the evidence is going to show as far as what's the biggest thing going on in the defendant's life. And the biggest thing going on in her life in the months, days leading up to October 4th is the status of her relationship with Danny. Things are not good. She is feeling unloved, undesired, ignored. And I'll show you a couple of text messages taken from her phone by the investigators that show this. Now, this is kind of small on here, and it's kind of bright, so I'll read it for you for those of you who can't see. Some of you may be able to read it, perhaps not all of you can. This is July of 2022. I want to feel beautiful, not barely average. I want to feel loved and not just liked. I want to feel wanted, not just tolerated. I want to be able to look at you and know it's just me, not wonder how many others there are. I want to feel like my body is worth showing off, not like it's just been trashed from having 3 kids. I want to feel the way you made me feel in the beginning, like I'm treasured and safe, not like I'm just here because you really don't have a choice. And you'll see quite a number of messages like this. It's basically an unbroken string of text messages all the way up to the day that she kills Quentin. August 6th, yeah, go get yourself some ass. I know mine is not good enough. Never was, never will be. September 10th, you're the reason I'm angry every day. You're the reason I'm depressed, why I feel the way I do about myself.
Almost sounds like song lyrics.
It's not a minor thing for her. I told you it's probably the biggest thing emotionally going on in her life. The way that she perceives herself to be being treated by Daniel, and perhaps to some degree actually was being treated by him. It's at least how she feels. This is such a big deal for her that with her phone, at one point she filmed something that can only be described as a digital suicide note. All right, she's in the car. You'll hear her at the end say, I've got to go, I made it to the river. She's in her car, evidently contemplating driving her car into a river and ending her life. And she starts out saying goodbye to her children. She has some kind words to say about Zane. She has some kind, loving words to say about Sky. You might perceive that she momentarily kind of seems to be at a loss for what exactly to say about Quentin, her victim, middle child. And then she goes on to explain that the message is clearly addressed to Danny. She goes on to attribute what she's about to do to the way that Danny has treated her. Now, this is a 4-minute some video. It's a little long for an opening statement, but we're going to watch the whole thing. And we're going to watch the whole thing because it's an important window into her state of mind at this stage in time. This video was filmed in August of 2022, but the evidence in terms of the text messages and her statements will show that nothing really changed between when this video was filmed and October 4th of 2022. So with that preview, I'll play this for you now.
This is the big suicide video.
Mama tried. And Mama's not here no more because she doesn't want you. I do. I can't love myself. If I can't love myself, how can I love you? I've tried over and over and over and I failed. I screamed for help and I don't get it. Sky, you are such a beautiful little girl. I wish I could watch you grow up. I wish I could hold you for your first heartbreak because my mama didn't. Sky, I love you, baby girl. And Zane, you were so handsome, so sweet,
What?
I wanted you more than like yourself. But you proved that it was only one way. That feeling was only one way. That love, that loyalty, it was all one way. You take care of my kids, okay? You couldn't take care of me. You couldn't love me. You couldn't do me right. So please, for the love of fucking God, do my kids right.
I'm at the river now by Danny. So that's where she was at. This is her emotional state in summer, fall.
Okay, I gotta say, that suicide video was horseshit. That was, I don't even know what that was. But that was, I don't believe that for one damn second. That wasn't, I'm done, I'm out of here. That was to try for her new boyfriend or whatever to make him feel bad, to guilt him. Yeah, I'm doing this because of you. You don't have sex with me anymore. I'm not pretty. I loved you. She went from weird. Still, there was no tears, even though she was sobbing uncontrollably. There was weird kind of laughing stuff. There was sadness, and it turned to anger. It was weird. Oh yeah, it wasn't just theater. It was bad theater. Ooh la la, Pat says Doggo Cam Fund. Emmanuel Quinonez says, hey Jeff, I just released my first book, Whisperings of the Smoky Mountain. A dark adventure through the Smokies. Hit me up for the link if you're interested. Hey, send it along. Silent PS says, can we call him Al? And MG Law says, Paul Simon. Where was Garfunkel? Yes, her brother's name is Paul Simon, and her mother is Billy Joel Howell. Billy Joel Howell. Sort of like Billy Joel. So yeah, weird. I know, but whatever.
Fall of 2022. That brings us back to October 4th. And here I'll give you sort of an overview of what the evidence is going to show us of the sequence of events of that day. Now, first thing to establish is that on the relevant dates here, Billy Joe Howell, the defendant's mother, and Thomas Howell, her stepdad, are out of town. They're not in town. They're not in the house. They are sort of out of play. I expect that to be undisputed. So that leaves in the house Paul, the defendant, Danny, and the three children, Zane, Quentin, and Scott. In the morning of October 4th, quite early in the morning, in fact, the defendant and Danny take the three children to babysitter Michelle McCartney and her two teenage daughters that live on the same street. They live like right across the street on Buckalter. And it said babysitter up here, and I've called her the babysitter, but really you'll hear from Michelle, one of her daughters, and it comes across more like they're almost like a second family or a substitute family for these kids because of the parental shortcomings at 535 Buckalter. So the evidence might show that babysitter kind of undersells it a little bit. And the child care arrangement was this. At this point in time, Danny and the defendant are working at a warehouse in Port Wentworth, unloading, loading boxes. They're carrying boxes in the warehouse in Port Wentworth. And their shift starts at 6 a.m. They're working the 6 a.m. shift. So early in the morning, on the way to work, they'll drop off the three children with Michelle and with her two teenage daughters. And so they do that. And they both go to work. They clock in at essentially the exact same time, a little after 6 a.m. on October 4th. Now they clock out less than 2 hours later. And the reason they do that is the defendant is experiencing some kind of dental issue. She has a tooth that's bothering her and it needs to come out. And so they clock out right around 8 o'clock, just before 8 o'clock in the morning. And they go to some type of like emergency dental clinic or walk-in dental clinic. And she gets a tooth pulled. These are some pictures, selfies she took of herself in the dentist chair. And you can see the side of her mouth, the left side there, I think is kind of swollen. She sent these to Daniel, Young, and Danny, who was sitting out in the waiting room waiting for her. And so after this, they do not go back to work. They go home.
Who
And
takes
the
a
rest of
selfie in a,
the waking
in a
hours of the
dentist
day
chair?
are pretty normal. They get some lunch, they relax, her mouth is bothering her, she's tired, she's sore. And eventually at about 4:30 in the afternoon, they go and they pick up the three kids from the babysitter from the shelf, and they bring them home. So at that point, Danny, the defendant, and the three kids are in the house. Now, Paul, he worked at the same warehouse, but he worked a later shift. And you'll hear what it is. It's something like 2 p.m. to late at night, around 10 or so. That was Paul's shift. So same place, different shift. So he's not there in the afternoon.
Oh, that was
Now they're
Paul's
there,
shift. I heard him
they do
incorrectly.
dinner, they do bath time, they put the kids down, Quentin in his pack and play.
All right, this is where the problems
Your
start.
testimony or a statement from the defendant with Sky.
They've put the kids down for the night.
That we looked at, and Zane and Marie's car bed. And I think it'll be undisputed, and I expect that it'll be undisputed that, at around 10 p.m., Quentin is fine. He's just in his crib, in his pack and play for that night. Okay. And what happens at this point sets off a chain of events that goes over the next couple hours and results in tragedy. And that is that the defendant and Daniel have yet another argument about how he's treating her. This is sometime a little after 10 p.m. And this is something she told to detectives eventually in some of her interviews about how he doesn't want her, he doesn't want to touch her, he's not feeling desire for her like he used to. And we've already talked about this is a major trigger for her. This is the biggest emotional issue going on in her life, and it's significant. It drove her to the brink in the video.
That's her biggest emotional issue. Her boyfriend doesn't want to smash
and so
anymore.
she leaves the house after 10 p.m. on the first of 2 trips that you'll hear a lot about in this trial, and that she didn't really want to talk about, at least truthfully, with investigators. And that first trip is to the drug dealer. She says that she left so that things wouldn't escalate between her and Dan. She was upset. That's her word. So it wouldn't escalate. The first place she goes is this Circle K.
I don't want to escalate the fight with my boyfriend, so I'm going to go buy drugs.
I should have pointed out that you can see her getting out of the car. That's at 10:29 p.m. So that's 10:30. I'll back up and you can see her getting out of her Dodge Journey with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders. She's not in a good state. Anyway, 10:30, she goes into the Circle K. She buys a couple of convenience store items. And then she texts Danny. He's got her saved in his phone as Lanny Baby. She texts him, I'm going to run to 204, I guess. That's at 10:32, immediately after she leaves the Circle K. She might still be in the parking lot for all I know. And 204 is an area you'll hear about in this case. It's sort of it's shorthand for our drug dealer. I'm going to run to our drug dealer. This is Highway 204 is what this is in reference to. And their drug dealer lives on a street right off 204. So she's going to get drugs to try to make herself feel better. This is a screenshot of some GPS plots from her phone that the police eventually made after getting into her phone. You can see Highway 204 here. And this red kind of blob up here is a series of GPS points showing that she's at the drug dealer's house on Arkwright Lane from about 10:45 p.m. to 10:55. And she's storing drugs to use that night because she doesn't like the way she's feeling. This is some information exported from her cell phone extraction showing that while she was there, at 10:49, she made an $80 Cash App payment to a Timothy Weston, who is her drug dealer at least once.
Cash App your drug dealer. Always
While
a good
she's
thing,
gone,
people.
Paul gets home. He had clocked out at 9:56 p.m. And I think he will say that he took him a minute to get home because he was smoking a blunt in the parking lot or something like that. You're going to hear a lot about drug use in this case. And he gets home while the defendant is still out on this trip to the drug dealer. And he'll tell you that when he got home, he went in and said hey to Danny. And he saw the kids, he saw Quentin in his crib, in his pack and play, and Quentin was fine. He even interacted with him a little bit. He'll tell you what it was. Hey, little man, how's it going? And he sees that Quentin is, hey, okay, he's fine. May not be completely asleep yet, but he's there, he's okay. Now, by 10 after 11, this is another GPS screenshot. It's hard to make out on this TV. But this is by 10 after 11, so you got a bunch of GPS points hitting at the house on Buckhalter Road. And this is just to signify that this is when this is around when she gets home. 10 after 11. And so she's home at that point.
Okay, so she's gone to the drug
Paul
dealer. Now she's home at 10:11.
Upstairs in his bedroom, going to sleep, kind of secluded from the rest of the family. And Danny eventually goes to sleep as well. And you'll hear her say this to the investigators, that she was the only one up and active in the middle of the night, in the hours leading up towards 1 a.m. Danny is sleeping because he's going to get up and go to work in the morning. He has to get up at like sometime between 5 and 5:30 to go to work. And Paul was sleeping as well because he just got off work. He's tired. And you'll hear her say that I was the only one up and about. My tooth was hurting. I couldn't sleep. What she's doing is she's going on a bender. You'll hear her admit to this eventually. She didn't want to talk about it initially, but you'll hear that she eventually acknowledged that she was up kind of frantically using drugs for an extended period of time while everybody else in the house is asleep and out of play. You'll hear her talk about it. I would hit a line. I would go outside. I would smoke a blunt to kind of bring myself down. Maybe smoke a cigarette. Then I'd hit another line and repeat the cycle. So she's
smoked a blunt, then hit another line. Jeebus.
in her house by herself, physically uncomfortable because of her dental issue, emotionally wrecked because of what's going on with her and Danny, and it's resurfaced again this night. Although resurface is probably not the way to put it because it's just an ever-present problem for her. And this is a bad situation, right? This is a volatile, dangerous situation. And that's because you'll hear something that she later said during the investigation on a recorded call, on a recorded phone call to Daniel, who was cooperating with the police and trying to help them gain information about the effect that cocaine has on her. It's not just fun for her. You'll hear her say that it makes her angry and impulsive.
Coke rage.
I become angry and impulsive when I'm like,
Don't make me do coke. You wouldn't like me when I do coke.
And so those are the conditions. She's up all alone, physically uncomfortable, emotionally unhappy, unstable to some degree. And around 1 a.m. probably, she kills Quentin. Now I'm going to focus on the what she.
I do have to say, it's brutal, but I like how cold he was with that line. I like how he's just like, okay, and then at 11:30 she killed him. I mean, that's just kind of a punch in the face there. Here she is, she's doing coke, she's sending these, she says, don't make me angry when I do coke, she's doing coke, and then she kills him. It kind of wakes you up.
She did when things happen. And probably in closing argument when all the evidence is in, we'll talk to you a little bit more about the why exactly in that moment did she do this. But for now, I want you to just understand the sequence of events and what happened with it. She takes his body and puts it in Dodge Journey, Georgia tag TEN 9300. And she begins the cover-up. The cover-up is not just the lies to the police. The cover-up starts immediately. A little after 1 a.m., she drives down Buckhalter Road, which turns to the right here, but it's still Buckhalter Road at that turn. It comes into Ogeechee Road right here. And she pulls into this mobile home plaza. It's right here. Mostly what you're seeing is trees, but there are mobile homes in here. This is Azalea Mobile Home Plaza. And there's a convenient stand-up dumpster sort of hidden away under some tree cover in the tree line there. And she throws Quentin's body away like a piece of trash about 1:17 in the morning. She drives home. This is another export from her phone, showing that her phone was locked from 2:01 in the morning until 9:13 in the morning. And this is just kind of a shorthand way of saying that's roughly about the time she eventually goes to sleep and her phone is inactive. Now, Danny wakes up for work a little after 5, and he tries to wake her up to go to work. She's supposed to go to work with him. Remember, they work the same shift. She has been up all night doing drugs, and he's been, responsibly sleeping, so he's able to get up for work. And he cannot wake her up. She will not wake up. And at this point, he's trying to get out of the house to go to work. And he believes that all 3 children are there. He does not go over and check the packet plane. He doesn't even know that Quentin is gone. You saw in those pictures the packet plane is all the way across the room in the far corner. It's not right next to the closet. It's not right next to the bathroom. He can't wake her up to go to work. And he's annoyed by this because this is, I think he may tell you it's not the first time this has happened. And they are kind of tight on money. They are trying to make money to either put a down payment on a house or a security deposit on an apartment so they don't have to live with a mom anymore. And he'll tell you that he was frustrated by this. You're not going to get up and come to work and make money. And his decision at this time is to say, well, okay, you're not going to come to work and make money. We're not going to spend money on a babysitter today. Because they pay her every day in Michelle. And so he texts Michelle, hey, the kids are going to stay here with her today, Miss Michelle, at 5:20 in the morning. She says, okay. And the reason for that is his thought is, look, if you're not going to get up and make money, you can stay here and watch the kids. Wake up and find these kids are still here. You can deal with them. They're yours. So he goes to work, and he clocks in at 6:11. 6 a.m., 6:11 a.m. And he will clock out at 9:15, a little over 3 hours later. And the reason, so situations like this, it's all hands on deck. Everybody comes out. Forensics comes out.
Whoa, what was that? Did we just have a time warp? What the hell was that? Yeah, we just had some sort of time warp there.
A little over 3 hours later. And the reason, so situations like this, it's all hands on deck. Everybody comes out. Forensics comes out.
Okay. If I recall correctly, during that break, they said because she called and said the kids were gone, and then they brought the because I remember there was a glitch in the court's feed. Maybe they just cut out the glitch and cut out a little bit more, but basically he clocked out because of the kids missing, and so then they brought all the police to the place.
The forensics unit came out, had a drone up looking for.
God, I thought I boomered something there. Jeez. Okay. I was like, what did I do? As long as we're paused here, let's take care of some business, shall we, people? Right. First of all, we are about a little less than 1/3 of the way to the extend goal. If you, it's a new thing that YouTube does. If you go up there to the top, there's a little thing that says goal, and click on the goal. It should say 6 of 20. The goal is if we get 20 yellow super chats before the end of the show, we'll do an extra hour. That's just kind of a little stretch goal thing there. But more importantly, we have, for the 49th day in a row, we have unleashed the emotional support potato pig dogs, and I can't think of a better case. I can't think of a more appropriate case where the emotional support potato pig dogs are needed than this particular case here. So before we even read the relevant chats that got us over the hump, it's that time for day 49, the 49th day in a row, to give the command to
release the hose.
And there is little Yoda zombied out. He'll be our primary emotional support potato pig dog. Our other one over there is Strawberry. Strawberry's over there across the room. They're kind of out on their feet. Well, they're just out today. They're not on their feet because they came to the office with me. They came to the office with me today, so they didn't get their nappies. So now they're just crashed. Thank you so much for day 49 of the emotional support potato pig dogs. Monday will be the big day 50 if we get there. So thank you very, very much. And how we got there was through the generous support from everybody that's gone so far, plus Adara the Wholesome. She's upset because he won't bang her and is crying herself to sleep every night. Referees are making a call. Unnecessary horniness, penalty 15 yards. Yeah. And hey, Joe, dog day goal. Yeah, you got us there. You got us over the line. We crossed the line because of you. And C Winterstorm says something strange is going down at the local Circle K. Wild Stallions. That's a good reference. Thanks. That was pretty funny. I like that. All right, let's get back to super hot prosecutor guy. Megan's freaking out. She needs more prosecutor. And now this is where the lies begin, by the way. This is where the horror, what we've heard so far is pretty damn bad. But this, in full support of trigger warnings, this is where it gets really bad.
Patrol officers are being pulled from other beats, other areas of patrol, to canvass the area and look for Quentin in the woods. All sorts of people are coming. Most of the command staff for the Chatham County Police Department showed up because this is a big deal. They take these things very seriously. One of the specialized units that responded after patrol officers had gotten there was the detectives for the Chatham County Police Department, CID, Criminal Investigations Division. And the first detective there for CID is a guy you'll hear from, Sean Wilkins. Sean Wilkins shows up, and he's the one who conducts the first, what you call more like the first formal interview with the defendant. And most notable from that statement that he takes from her at this time is when she says she went to bed and when she says she got up. You'll hear that she tells him, I went to bed around midnight and I got up around 9. She doesn't say anything at all about this trip to Azalea Mobile Home Plaza a little after 1 a.m. She doesn't want to talk about that because that's the trip that she took to get rid of Quentin's body. So here's her telling Wilkins, I went to bed around midnight and I got up around 9 a.m.
When's the last time you saw your child?
When I went to bed last night.
And what time was that?
It
Do you
was
remember?
around 12.
12? Okay.
12 and I went to bed. I had my wisdom teeth removed yesterday.
I'm sorry, that's it.
So I went to bed late.
I get you. Listen, I had enough too.
So I got up this morning about 9.
About 9?
And my front door is open, so I went up and I shut it, not thinking about anything like that. And I look over and check my kids, and he was going, oh, it is for there. He was going,
It's all right.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is her first version of her defense. The 20-month-old child climbed out of his crib, his playpen thing he slept in, opened the front door, and wandered off. That's her initial story. That's her initial story. And the Japanese Yakuza won with a sexy 100 all the way from sexy Europe. Due to heavy winds, my internet might go in and out. It might just be Megan's heavy breathing. I'm not sure.
Then at midnight, woke up around 9. No mention of the Azalea trip. I told you there were 2 trips, 2:04 earlier in the night, 10:11. Trip number 2 was that Azalea trip, a little after 1 a.m. And she is totally omitting that. Now, all hands on deck, right? Missing child. There are detectives working on this case that aren't even out at the scene from the very beginning. One of them is a Chatham County police detective you'll hear from named Kiana Robbins. Kiana Robbins is at the Islands precinct, I think is where she was on Johnny Mercer, not anywhere close to here. But she's in her office, she's sitting at her computer and she's researching. She's seeing if she can find some helpful information. This is a stock photo of what's called a flock camera. The flock system is a series of cameras that are set up around town at major intersections or along.
Pay attention, people. They can track you.
Snap a picture of the license plates of all the cars that drive by. And police can use these for a number of different things. One of the things they can use them for is, say you have somebody who flees from a traffic stop and actually gets away, and police can't pursue them without undue danger. They can take that tag number of that individual, they can put it in the flock system and put like a lookout out for them. If that tag hits on any other cameras, it'll alert the police and they can try again and make the traffic stop. Another thing that the police can do, and what Detective Robbins did, was look up vehicles registered to the defendant. She finds that Dodge Journey that the defendant drove to dispose of Quentin's body, and she puts it into the flock system, looks it up in the database to see what, if any, flock cameras that vehicle has hit on anytime recently. And she sees that car has been out late at night, driving around on trips that the defendant hasn't mentioned yet. She radios that information, or maybe calls via phone, This is actually looks like that's the Dodge Journey in the driveway at the time of the police response. She calls Lieutenant Foster, who you'll hear from. This is after the defendant has told Wilkins that she went to bed at midnight and woke up at 9. Hasn't mentioned anything about the Orangeville trip or the Azalea trip. Foster goes up to her. He now has this information that this tag has been hidden on some flock cameras and seems to have been driving around during the night. And he goes up to her. He's a lieutenant at this point, which is like kind of a managerial type position. He's by this time is the senior man on scene, I believe. But he has background in investigations. He was with the Savannah Police Department, I think, at one point in their violent crimes unit investigating homicide. So he knows his way around an investigation. He knows how to do these sort of things. He goes up to her armed with this information about the flock hits at night. He wants to know what these trips were about. So he goes up to her and he asks her, "Hey, did you go anywhere last night?" And he's a savvy guy, so he's careful to tack on, like where the kidnapper could have followed you home. And she seems to know, the evidence will show that she seems to know that he knows something about this trip to Azalea that she took and has not mentioned to this point. And so she comes up with a story. It's not totally clear when she came up with it. But the story is that, that trip that I took away from my house shortly after 1 a.m., that was to go pick up Orangeville from a friend at the Chevron. Now, the Chevron is right next to Azalea Mobile Home Plaza. They're kind of right next to each other. And so that's her story. This is what she was doing, driving to that location at that time. My tooth was bothering me. I didn't have any Orangeville. I went to pick some up and got some from a friend. This is the first appearance of the Orangeville story, which lasts for about a week or so. Maybe a week and a half.
Did y'all go anywhere last night or yesterday with Faith that maybe he could have followed you or something? Y'all didn't go anywhere? No, just you made you yourself.
Yeah, I know. I took a triple yesterday, so you maybe I don't think it was work.
2 o'clock yesterday?
No, like walking wise, I couldn't go to sleep.
Okay, so where'd you go?
Right, the road right there, that Chevron. My friend I used to work with, she had worked out there. I used to go to home.
Okay. Did you go anywhere else? Have you made it home? So when did you get home?
I can say exactly. What are you going to do? I was talking to somebody. So I'm not really told me.
All right, so that's a story about what I was doing when I drove there. Now, I'll tell you this. She's trying to show them on her phone this trip on an app called Life 360. Life 360 kind of generally tracks your movements. You can join with your family, and they can see where you are and have been, and vice versa. You may be wondering, well, look, if this trip was so sinister in nature, why is she trying to show it to them on her phone? And you'll hear testimony that the reason that she was comfortable holding out her phone as corroboration for this trip to the Chevron is that, again, the Chevron and Azalea Mobile Home Plaza are right next to each other. And looking at the screen, you can't necessarily tell which one she's at. You can only tell that she's in the general area. So she believes that this kind of helps prove that I'm telling the truth about being at the Chevron. Now, the police would later pull very precise GPS data from the phone, like not just looking at the screen, but from the actual phone, that puts her not at the Chevron, but right at the dumpsters at Azalea, which I don't know, maybe 100 yards from the Chevron. But that's why she's holding the Life 360 out and saying, look, this helps me. So that's the first appearance of the Orangeville story to explain the Azalea trip. They take, the police take all 3 of the adults in the house. Eventually they say, we really need to get Danny, Cole, and the defendant to the police station, sit them down for formal interviews, and just get like a complete sequence of the day from all 3 of these people. In the first interview with the defendant takes place in something that they call the lactation room or the nursing room. I think you sometimes also hear these things referred to as mothering rooms. And the reason for that is that Danny was in the single interview room that they have with the cameras wired up in the corners and all that. And this video is recorded on Detective Marion Lemon's phone. Now, by this time, this is a joint federal and local investigation. The FBI has shown up because they get involved in kidnapping, abduction cases. And what happens at headquarters is that they pair off teamwork. One FBI agent, one detective, and they each in a pair interview each of these people. And so Detective Lemons is paired up with Special Agent Brad Snyder. whom you'll hear from. They were kind of partners throughout this investigation. And it's very open-ended at the beginning. What they're asking for is just give us an account of your day. Give us an account of the last 24 hours. Where have you been? What have you done? And so you'll hear Snyder asking them this. The video is really nothing special. I think it's just ceiling tiles the entire time because the phone is sitting on a table. But the audio is good. You can hear. And she starts with, we left the dentist and came home. So she does start at the beginning.
So right now, again, we're sorry for her. I mean, we can't imagine the emotions you're going right now. But it's difficult. Just, she's kind of thinking the last 24 hours. It's kind of giving me, what she's been through the past 24 hours. So about 24 hours will be this time yesterday. So for about 1 o'clock yesterday.
So that's the start. I was leaving the dentist, getting my wisdom tooth pulled. And the end is the Oragel story, the Chevron Oragel story that she has as her last trip of the night. And she omitted that to Wilkins, is now had to come up with a story to cover this trip.
So that was really bothering me about almost 1 in the morning to call separate friends to see if they have Oragel. So I got contact with another one of my friends named Misty that I used to work with. He has a lot of mouth problems. And I'm sure she had any Oragel. Like her shepherd. And my culture. And yeah, that back home. Also 12 minutes. And then for like 360, I can show you over around. Everything was total. I was like, you're back. Get home. And run out. Take all I get to get in there. Okay.
Now, a couple things about this initial interview in which she's asked to give an account of her movements for like the last 24 hours. No mention whatsoever of the trip to the drug dealer. She doesn't want to talk about.
Well, is it really odd that she wouldn't mention a trip to the drug dealer to the police? That's okay. That's not that
what she
odd.
was doing that night in the state that it put her in. So that's omitted completely from this interview. And now she's put a name to the friend who gave her the Oragel, Misty.
And again, this is not legal advice, but it's just sort of something I've learned from watching Matlock and Columbo, Perry Mason, etc. If you're going to give somebody's name in connection with something you're saying you did as an alibi, make sure that other friend is in on it too. And they know that if the police come, they're supposed to say this. Don't just throw out a name and the cops are going to go, oh, okay, we're not going to check with them.
Awesome.
That doesn't happen that way.
Now, I'll tell you before we move on from that, I'll tell you this. The police asked her to go through her phone, and of course she's playing, the victim. I'm the victim, the mother victim of a child abduction. So she probably feels some pressure to cooperate. And so she lets him go through her phone. A couple things that she is, there's no call to Misty. And there's no call to Circle K to check and see if they have Oragel, which is something she said. First, I called Circle K to check and see whether they had Oragel. They didn't, so then I called Misty. None of that at all.
Oh, by the way, your phone records the phone calls it
They
makes
also
too.
see a message from the defendant to Danny. We looked at this earlier. This is when she's leaving the Circle K and is about to go to the drug dealer at 10:30. Going to run to 204, I guess. This is something that she had left out in this initial interview with Snyder and Lemons. So they interview her again, and this time it's in the interview room. And they want to ask her, what's the deal with this 204 thing? Here's what she tells them. Oh, yeah, that was a trip to the drug dealer, but it wasn't actually to buy drugs. She tells them that the reason that she left the house at 10:30 at night and went to her drug dealer and was there for 10 minutes was simply to pay off a pre-existing drug debt in the amount of $20. Now, the evidence will show that that story is just absurd on its face. But in addition to that, the cash out was for $80, not $20. And she'll later admit that this story wasn't true.
Oh my
But
God.
here she is launching.
Yeah, and I was already heading back by the time that.
So at 10:40, you texted him that you were
How many lies can you tell? That does not help your case.
turning on 204 to leave it.
Yeah, like I'm turning on 204 now, like I'm about to meet him. That's what I was trying to tell him.
And at that point, you didn't get anything.
No, I just gave him $20. I gave him $20 left. It was a first couple days ago.
So you met your drug dealer, but you didn't get anything. No, I just paid him the $20. Oh, you mean the $80 that shows up on the Cash App? Is that what you mean? Holy crap.
She's paying off a $20 debt, not actually buying drugs. Because after all, she tells them, other than marijuana, I don't use drugs.
No, another lie.
You didn't get a person.
I see what you're like. And even though I didn't get a person, like $35. Last time I asked him. I'm home alone. I don't get those so when you come back hurt. I was like, oh, no, it's wrong. Not creative.
Very strong, detailed denial of the use of any drugs other than marijuana. And the reason they're asking her whether she got Percocet from the drug dealer that night is that they'd seen some messages about buying Percocets as well when they went through her phone. And they asked her about that. What about these text messages with you? Look like you're buying Percocet, using Percocet. And her story at this time is, oh, those are for a friend. I'm just a middleman for my friend Cheyenne, who likes Percocets but doesn't, I guess, know a dealer herself.
Some things that you just have to answer for, so we have to get a better understanding as to what went on. We gave us authorization to look at the text messages. There's text messages in there unless you purchase those. As recently as within the past 24 to 48 hours. Just remind me about that day or if you understand that.
So,
Or your sisters.
sometimes when I speak, I haven't done recently. I do have this friend who's trying to call me and looking for her. She will call me from time to time. If I see a call off, she will help me on the phone, ask me for drugs or whatever if I can get it. And I wait for her. I'm dropping it off.
So she's just getting the drugs for a friend. No, Mom, these aren't my smokes. I'm holding them for a friend. No, police officer, these aren't my drugs. I'm holding them for a friend.
Talk about her drug use that night because that contributed directly to the state of mind that she was in and relates so closely to her killing Quentin in the middle of the night. So she feels that she has to tell these lines. And she wants to focus on 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. because after all, this is an abduction. It's not as though I did anything in the middle of the night. My child was taken after Annie left for work.
Welcome, Aussie Overlord Raiders. Great to see you here. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on your way in. Thank you, and settle in for a terrible, terrible, horrible story.
That's her story. That's what she's trying to sell. And again, she forcefully denies this.
No, I did not. I did not take a Percocet right now. This is not right now.
Now, police follow up. Okay, October 5th, they get statements from the defendant, which is making all these claims that we've talked about. You get a statement from Paul, they get a statement from Danny. And what you do, and this goes late into the night, eventually it's kind of time to stop on October 5th and wake up in the morning and follow up on some of this stuff. So she has said that she was at the Chevron getting Orajel from Misty, her former coworker. And so they go out and there are two real notable things that happened between the October 5th statements on day one and the next interview. And one is that they do what they call a video canvas. They go out to this Chevron area where she has said that this Orajel exchange happened. And they look around and they see if they see any cameras. They go in and they ask if there's footage. And they get footage from the Chevron. And it does not show her stopping there. In fact, it shows her driving by. And they get footage from Azalea next door. And this is the major break in the case, because what the Azalea footage shows is her pulling in, doing a loop around the complex, and pulling up to the dumpsters and sitting there for about 2 minutes. And that's when she throws Quentin's body away. So you're going to...
Jesus. So not only does she tell all of these lies, there's literally a camera showing her throwing her 20-month-old baby into the fucking dumpster. And this is a slight spoiler alert. The excuse or story she tells the cops is unfathomably evil. What she says about what she's doing at the dumpster.
Hear in detail about the footage from Azalea, the different cameras and camera angles and what you can see on which one. But this is just a sample of that. This is her driving in the Dodge Journey after 1 a.m. on a mission to throw away her dead child. So that's one notable item of follow-up that leads into the next interview. The other is that they go talk to Melissa Missy Bray. Now, the defendant's calling her Misty on the first night. She doesn't even get her name right. But she describes her as a former coworker from Bojangles. So Special Agent Snyder goes out to Bojangles, asks, whether he'd make a direction to this person. He do. He goes out and he interviews her. And he asks her when the last time that she saw the defendant was. And she tells him, I haven't seen her for months. The last time that I saw her was when she ran it. It was like in July of 2022, months before what we're talking about. The defendant had run out of gas near Missy's house, had walked to Missy's house, and had borrowed a gas can. And
so Missy knows nothing about any Orajel.
A few times, saying, "Hey, can I get that gas can back?" And that was it. And that was months before. And Special Agent Snyder looked at these messages and they corroborate what Missy is telling him. So, Chevron story, the met Missy at Chevron story is now just completely torpedoed. And so they bring her in for another interview on October 8th. And this one is with an FBI agent named Bridget Brock. And it's conducted at the FBI office in Savannah. And they confront her with these two findings. One, the security footage from Zelle and from Chevron. And two, what Missy has told them. And she just sticks to the Orajel story and just insists that it is true. And this is what that sounded like. She just hasn't had time yet to figure out how she's going to play this with this new information that they're presenting her with.
We'll talk about that, okay? Because Misty had talked to you.
Yeah, she has.
She hasn't talked to you in quite some time.
Yeah, she has.
She did not have a conversation with you about the Orajel.
Yes.
So in your mind, you've looked at all these timestamps and possibly you came up with a story that's partly true.
No, that is
But there's very, very many missing pieces, right? And in your story,
it is true. Missy's lying. I did meet her for Orajel in a parking lot at 1:30 in the morning. Missy's lying. Yeah, I don't know what reason she would have to lie, but on the balance, I don't know who would you say has more reason to lie. Missy, who's like, I don't know the hell you're talking about. I haven't seen her in months, or I just murdered my child and threw him in a dumpster. Which of these two people has a greater reason to lie?
you haven't been completely honest about where you were at and why you were
I
there.
was 100% honest about where I was at. I showed Life 360. I told my even gave her the Orajel that she gave me.
Right? And that didn't happen. We've already interviewed.
That didn't happen.
That did happen. She had a moment out of her mouth. That's the reason why I asked her for it.
You have to stop saying this. It did not happen.
Yes, it did.
You ain't gonna Jedi mind trick the
That's story
cops,
on
lady.
October 8th, sticking to her guns. Now, October 12th, she comes in for another interview. And this is with Brad Snyder, who I've talked about already, who you've heard a little bit from and seen a little bit of, and an FBI agent named Savannah Solomon that he works with closely. And this is at the FBI office. And this is a long interview. I've pared it down a little bit so we don't have to spend 3 hours watching it during the trial, but it's still fairly long. And initially, at least, she's sticking to the Orajel story. That's Savannah Solomon on the left, Snyder on the right, and the defendant in the middle.
And I did. I did.
I did meet Misty, 100%. It happened. I'm telling you. And she tells this kind of flowery story describing this meeting. She lavishes them with details about how this went down.
So you went to Missy's house, and you go inside her house? She was just saying how long did y'all interact there, Missy? How long did y'all?
2-3 minutes. It was a quick little conversation. How you want us to know feelings? She does crack. She did.
Now she has Misty was smoking crack when she gave the defendant a Orajel. And what is going on here is when the defendant is lying and telling a story to cover something up that she did.
Objection, Your Honor, at this point in time, those opening statements, Mr. Dean has the right to say what he expects the evidence to show, not his interpretation of it. So,
Sustained. Kingdom Master move forward.
The evidence will show that she added this detail to suggest a faulty memory on Misty's part.
Yeah. So, of course, Missy would forget she came to the Chevron or the Circle K or wherever the hell it was at 1:30 in the morning to give me Orajel because she smokes crack. She's on crack. How would she remember coming and giving me Orajel in the middle of the night?
Suggest that, maybe this will help explain why Misty is telling that she hadn't seen me. I mean, it is nothing to her to just accuse Misty Missy of having
Jesus.
smoked crack during this meeting that didn't happen. But in any case, a few minutes later, she finally admits that she didn't see Missy.
That's a good thing. Because you can report that. I didn't look at it. The cards were the ones I lost. I found them back to the house.
What?
So after insisting on the 5th that she met Misty at the Chevron for Orangeville, and after insisting on the 8th that that was the truth, and after insisting even at the outset of this interview that it was true, she finally admits that it wasn't true and massages the inconsistency by saying, you know, I didn't speak to her, but I did go there with the intent of seeing her. And she adds a detail.
I pledged my crack to her. That sounds weird. Never mind. That was a bad example. Sorry.
It hasn't been included in any of her stories today.
Phrasing.
Oh, and by the way, yeah, you've asked me if I threw any trash away there. Yeah, I did throw some trash away.
Listen to this shit. This is what I was telegraphing a little bit. This is her explanation of the trash that she threw away. This is what her 20-month-old son means to her.
Oh, and by the way, yeah, you've asked me if I threw any trash away there. Yeah, I did throw some trash away. She has a story for what that trash was. The evidence will show she did not want to admit that it was Quentin's body. So she describes this trash that she threw away as stinky shrimp pasta that had been sitting in the car in a trash bag and smelling up the car.
She's telling the cops that her son's body she threw away, her son that she threw in the dumpster, was stinky shrimp pasta that had been sitting in the car all day and stinking it up. That's what she thinks of her son, her 20-month-old son. He's equivalent to stinky shrimp pasta that's been smelling up her car all day. That triggers the shit out of me.
And they ask her about this, especially, this is the most critical fact in the case. Throwing Quentin's body in the dumpster at Azalea, what she was doing at Azalea Oklahoma Plaza at 1:17 in the morning or so. And her explanation for that is, it's just such a minor thing, throwing away some trash. I didn't think to mention it in my hours of previous interviews.
Stop it. I don't think anything else, to be honest. It's just old food.
It was just old food and I threw it out.
About what was in that trash bag. They also revisit the drug use. And you'll remember the strong denials on October 5th, which are repeated on October 8th. Well, in this October 12th interview, she admits finally that, I did take a Percocet that night.
And the October 7th, the injunction was stolen. What time did you do that?
By the time I got home, I took it like 11 or something, whatever.
And so Snyder asked her about her changing story.
I didn't do Percocet. Okay, I did Percocet. And there's just a slide and cocaine. Jeez.
You've been adamant that you met Misty for Orangeville. And now you're finally admitting to us, I actually didn't speak to her. You've initially, over the course of 2 interviews, maybe more, didn't mention throwing trash away And now you've got a very detailed account about doing that and what it was. And you, on the 5th, were adamant that you hadn't used any drugs other than marijuana. And now you're telling us that you did take a Percocet too. What's going on? Why is this story changing? And her explanation for that is, oh, well, my faulty memory might have something to do with all the cocaine I was doing that night, which is a drug that had totally been absent from all of her prior accounts.
Please don't
It
do
fits much
coke
more
in the
with
bathroom,
Cash
people.
App with the story about getting off the drug front. And so she is explaining her inconsistent stories by adding another inconsistency, which is an admission to cocaine use.
We're requesting a short break, and that makes sense. Let's take a 10-minute break and resume with the opening statement. Mr. Dean, again, I'm going to ask you not to talk about the case. Don't do any research about the case. Avoid conversations about the case.
All right,
The time now is about 11.
We can skip through the 10-minute pee break.
Back here at 11:40. Okay. All 16.
Okay, let's see if we have anything else. Oh, we do have things here. Where did we get? The Japanese Yakuza, I know we read this before. Due to heavy winds, my internet might go in and out. And Wife Duck, what's up with the $10? There's such a difference between this trial and Sarah Boone's trial. The state's attorney and defense counsel don't act like children. They actually communicate. And they communicate well, I think. Thank you very much, Wife Duck and Ike. I wonder if the defense is hoping that the jury will keep an open mind on this trial too. Oh yeah, they want us to keep an open mind. Definitely. Stand by for that. All right, we have unleashed the emotional support potato pig dog cams. We are 12 yellow super chats away from an extended hour. We've got about 40 minutes to get that goal. If you want an extra hour, we've got about 40 minutes. We are 12 yellow super chats away from the extendo goal. We have gone through the break, so let's continue.
Thank you. And Mr. Dean will resume with his opening statement.
Here you go, Megan. Superman's back.
So, October 12th, and we've come a long way from the October 5th account of only using marijuana that night. This is where we end up on October 12th.
Just before you left, it was in the trash that you had cocaine.
And in this interview, she acknowledges that this wasn't like the one night she used cocaine. She's a regular user of cocaine, which she had denied in earlier interviews. Now, at the end of the day, the most critical thing though is what happened to Quentin. What happened to Quentin in the middle of the night? And here is what she had to say about that.
Now she's done so many drugs, she doesn't know if she did something to him. And if she did, oh my God, she would feel so terrible about it because she's just out of her mind on drugs. This is a complete shift in her stories. Whatever you all find, I will take responsibility, but I hope to God they all come home with him alive and well in my arms. So I may have done something in a cocaine-induced fever. But if I didn't, I really hope I didn't, but I hope they bring him back.
I don't know if I did something to him, but if I did, I will take responsibility. She appears to be claiming something like a lack of memory. And I'll tell you that the evidence that you'll see is going to show that when she drove to those dumpsters at Azalea to throw Quentin's body away, you can see that she's driving normally. You'll see that she comes to a complete stop at stop signs. She uses her turn signal. You'll hear evidence that the investigators could tell from her phone that she plugged her phone into the USB charger in the car when she got in. So the evidence will show that she was aware of what she was doing.
Good God, I just noticed this monitor back there behind me. Good Lord, 1989 wants their computer monitor back. Holy crap.
When she took him there. and that her claims to just not know what happened cannot be true. They do not fit with the other evidence. We've talked a lot about what she has been saying to the police and the FBI on the 5th, on the 8th, on the 12th. But we haven't talked much about the other aspect of the investigation, which is the effort to find Quentin and figure out exactly what happened to him.
Oh,
So I'll
and
talk a little bit about that now.
And this effort to find this child is terrible. I feel so goddamn sorry for these searchers that had to go through this.
October 18th, police announced that they believe Quentin's body to be in a local landfill and that they're about to begin this extremely challenging needle in a haystack search of the landfill. And this is how they got there. The detective with the Chatham County Police Department goes out to the mobile home plaza once these dumpsters become an area of interest after they've looked at the security footage. And he asks what garbage truck company services these dumpsters, and they give him that information. He gets in touch with that garbage truck company, and he learns that it was truck 309, from 3909, I should say, from a company called Waste Pro. This is the list of stops for that truck on that day. Serviced the mobile home plaza. This is on the morning of October 5th, actually. Quentin wasn't in the dumpster for very long because it was empty that day. And this, what I'll tell you next, kind of goes to explain Quentin's condition when they ultimately found him. Not an intact body, but in pieces, little pieces, bones. It's a front-loading garbage truck, extends its hydraulic forks into the slots on the side of the dumpster, and drops Quentin and all the other garbage into the box in the back of the truck. There's a compactor in that truck that compacts everything. You want that compactor in there so that the truck doesn't have to go to the landfill as frequently. It makes the garbage smaller and take more garbage. That truck went to the Waste Management Superior Landfill on Little Neck Road on the morning of October 5th. This is a landfill ticket. They weigh the trucks when they're coming in. That's how they know how much to charge the garbage truck company for this particular load. This is her Waste Pro truck, 3909. And with this information, the detectives go out and they talk to the landfill manager, and he's able to identify the area that garbage was being dumped and then kind of shoved to on October 5th, and this kind of general area up here, that becomes the search area.
God.
So they have kind of an idea of like a general box in the landfill of where Quentin is going to be found. But this is still an extremely difficult thing. Even if you know the general area, there's like 2 more days of trash that has since been dumped there since the 5th. And this stuff gets compacted.
Well, see, that's the thing. At least they pinpointed the place, 2 or 3 days after. So there's been a couple of days trash piled on there. I guess it was a lot longer after that, but in that area there had been 2 days. So if this would have happened months later, if they would have figured this out months later, there would likely be piles and piles and piles of trash where that poor kid was.
They moved around. They drive these compactors over it. They have studded metal rollers, and everything just gets shredded. You may have this idea that you go into a landfill and it's just like a pile of bags of trash, just like they were when you put them in your garbage can at home. It is not like that. You will see that it is not like that. Everything is shredded because compaction is the name of the game in landfills. You will hear that. You got to get everything pressed down real tight because space is money. So at the end of the day, they have tons and tons of garbage to search through. And so they arrange the landfill search. They have some consultants from an outside agency come in and advise on this because it's a very technical thing. These consultants are able to tell them, based on the size of the box, about how many tons of trash they'll have to search through to exhaust the area. Based on known rates of searching, like pounds per day, they're able to give them an estimate of how many people this is going to take and how much time it's going to take. They have to order specialized protective gear, steel-toed boots, tie-back suits, respirators, gloves to put over the gloves. This is a biohazard environment. And they have to find volunteers, and this is an all-volunteer duty. Right? And for weeks, volunteers from the police department and from some other law enforcement agencies came out here early in the morning, and they do this landfill search that involves an excavator up in the search area, scooping up garbage, putting it in a dump truck. Dump truck comes down on this open area bounded by cones that they call the search deck. Excavator down here kind of spreads the garbage, that particular load, I think they were calling them lines, out onto the search deck. And the law enforcement officers, these volunteers get online with rakes, and they just search through it. This is what that looked like. And they did this for days, weeks.
Can you imagine searching through this for weeks, just looking for a part of a body of a 20-month-old child? God.
All that gear on. That's why I said earlier, these efforts can only be described as heroic. They want to find Quentin. The evidence will show us that these things are not typically successful. There's a very low success rate of these landfill searches because, again, it's a needle in a haystack proposition. But that's what the police are doing while she is playing games with investigators and changing her story and changing her story again. October 24th, while the landfill search is underway.
I've been to that landfill many times, my
suffering
friend.
out there, not knowing whether the next rape is going to bring more tedium and boredom, or if it's going to bring the horror of what they're actually looking for. The defendant is still playing games. Having already admitted that
This is where I picked up this case. This was the video I saw that made me go, WTF. And if after I watched this, I said, Mom is in on this. Mom is complicit. Mom is an accessory to this. And if I remember correctly, Mom has been charged with obstruction or something along those lines. This was some bullshit interview here.
that she went to Azalea and threw away trash, but it was only stinky shrimp pasta. She does an interview with the news, WTOC, in which she still, even at this late stage, this is October 24th, that's 19 days after the initial 911 call, and after several interviews where her story has just been shot to pieces. She does this interview where she holds herself out as the victim of a child abduction, still on that, and has the goal to make an appeal to the public to just please bring Quentin home safe. And the evidence will show that she knows he's not safe, and she knows he's not coming home.
My kids woke up to me screaming, "Where's Quentin?" And running through the house. I ran and looked everywhere, inside, outside, searching for help. I've been here every day since this. I'm not running and I'm not hiding. And if something does come up that I ain't my fault, I will take myself to the police station. All we want is justice for Quentin Simon. That's it. We want justice too. We want answers. We don't care the cost. We want answers just like everybody else does. We love you, thank you.
Meanwhile, they know he's in that goddamn landfill.
That same day in which she's claiming to the news that had no idea what happened and to just want him home, she sends this text message to Savannah Solomon of the FBI. And this is just the latest Hail Mary. After all those statements about going to the Chevron and then going to Azalea and what she was doing there, and I was actually throwing away trash and not Quentin. At this point, October 24th, the same day as that news interview, she and Danny are split at this point. He kind of seems to see the writing on the wall for her and has left town. I think they're not together at this point. And so now's the perfect time to try to put it on Danny. I'm not buying for Danny anymore. The reason why my story about Boragel and shit didn't make sense was because Danny told me to say that he was the one who left. My phone was in the car from my previous trip. And the reason she says that is her phone GPS puts her at the dumpsters too, not just the video. So anyway, she's throwing it on Danny and is now saying, you know what, I didn't actually make that trip. Well, it's him and me. And they get her in for an interview a couple days later to formalize that statement. And they just sort of let her talk and put it out there. The evidence will show that it's clearly not true. It was a desperate attempt to just try something new after, a dozen lies to that point. And that interview was on October 31st, last day in October.
Wow, 2 years ago yesterday. That interview was 2 years ago yesterday. 77 Mechanic says, to quote the movie Goon, 2 rules: stay away from my Percocets. And do you have any Percocets? Megan Fox says, show the picture, Jeff. All right, real quickly here, people. This is what Megan has been doing while you've all been paying close attention to the trial here. This is what Megan Fox has been doing. That's what Megan's been doing while you've been listening to this horrible, horrible story. Megan, shame on you. All right, let's get back to this. We have about 25 minutes left today. If we want the extended hour goal, we need 12 more yellow super chats. If we get 12 more yellow super chats, we extend an hour.
Now, on November 18th, about 3 or 4 weeks after they started searching through that landfill, it was an arduous task, challenging thing, all volunteers. They finally find what they're looking for. November 18th, it's a memorable day for the people who are involved in this landfill search, because they find Quentin, and he's not in good shape.
Okay,
Oh
God, thanks. Oh, fuck me.
Bones,
I forgot about that. Yeah, let's
foot.
skull. Thanks,
It's not as
Law
easy
and
to
Crime.
place on that search deck. They're finding bones in different lines, spread out. He's horrible. They send Quentin's remains up to the FBI lab at Quantico, Virginia, where DNA analysis is done. And they confirm what everybody already knew, is that this is Quentin. And the defendant comes in for one last interview. So that's where she ends up. After having given this very detailed cover story about going to the Chevron to meet Misty for Oragel, and having added this richly detailed account of having thrown away some garbage at Azalea in the dumpster, but it only being shrimp pasta. Her final story, when they found Quentin after tracing the trash and making it undeniable that what she was throwing away in that dumpster at Azalea was her son's body, the best she could do in her last interview is to claim a total and complete lack of memory from seeing him in his pack and play at 10-something to snapping back into consciousness on the way home from Azalea. And we'll watch it to see more specifically what she says happened is that she was driving home, hit a set of railroad tracks, and that jolted her back into now forming memories again. That's the story she ends up with. After those richly detailed accounts of false statements for what happened during that trip, now she just can't remember anything that happened during a critical time period in this case. The murder and the disposal of the body. So,
Separately.
that is as concise as I can make it, the account of what happened and what how the investigation unfolded. What will the trial look like? Okay, so that's kind of the story, start to finish.
Okay,
What
not
will the trial
separately.
look like? Trial's not like an opening statement. All right, we bring witnesses in one at a time. It can be kind of disjointed and choppy because each individual comes in and they can only talk about really their role and what they did, heard, saw, that sort of thing. You will hear from some of the responding officers. You'll hear from people like Michelle McCarta, people in Quentin's life. I can tell you some things about how the defendant felt about Quentin and treated him. You'll hear from the investigators who took these statements and followed up on them. You'll hear from some of the people who were involved in this search of the landfill. You'll hear from some of the scientists at Quantico who were tasked with identifying Quentin. and seeing what they could make of these remains, which are just totally torn apart. What I do not expect to hear is exactly how the defendant killed Quentin. And that's because she covered it up. It's because she got rid of the body. All right. The evidence will show that her specific intent from the outset is that he never be found at all.
Oh, this is them glitching
And
out.
him being found in pieces, little bitty pieces, was the next best thing. The judge will tell you that in a case like this, we do not have to prove exactly how the defendant killed Quentin. Under these circumstances, how could you? And that is a sensible rule. Because what we have to prove, what is important, is not exactly how she killed him, but that she killed him. The fact that she did it. And the evidence that we will present to you.
Yeah, so those of you that were asking, they don't know. The hell was that? That was a weird noise. They don't know how he died, but they know that he died and she did it. So that's the important thing. You don't have to say how. Oh, you didn't prove how he died, so therefore I'm free. No, they just have to prove you did it. It's kind of hard to prove how he did it when he's been crushed in a dump truck and then shredded in a landfill by a giant tractor with spikes on its tires.
Will do that. It will do that beyond a reasonable doubt. So at the end of the case, when all the evidence is in, we will make our closing arguments and we will ask you to find her guilty of all of the charges in the indictment. I want to thank you for your attention. This has been a fairly long opening statement, but it was important to us because it's our one chance to do it, is to give you kind of soup to nuts from the outset. What is this case about, and what did this investigation look like? So I thank you for your attention.
All right, good.
That was a top-notch opening statement presentation. That was absolutely incredible. That he gets an A straight across the board. It was long. It was a very long opening statement, but it was engaging from the jump. There wasn't a wasted word. There wasn't a dull moment. There wasn't anything, overproduced or overacted. That was a straight, by the numbers, backed up opening statement. And at this point, if I was a juror, I'd be like, I know none of that was actual evidence, but can we just go and vote now? Can we just go there and vote now? Because I'm ready. I mean, that was a strong opening. If they can prove a tenth of that, she's toast. And I think she is 24 now, which made her 22 when this went down. All right, before we get to the defense's opening, 77 mechanic, member for 8 months. Oh, we did that one. We'll do it again. 2 rules: stay away from my Percocets. And do you have any Percocets? And the Japanese Yakuza. What if I send another 1,100? Does that count, or do I have to do them separate? Technically, it should be separate, but rules are meant to be broken. Rules are meant to be broken. But coming out of the weeds on the Cash App. On the Cash App, we have D What dropping some heat. Just trying to open this to see what heat was dropped. D What dropping a hundy. Dropping a straight up hund. Do I have a shot glass handy? No. How lame. I have to use a mixing cup here for the temporary shot glass. What am I going to do? I don't want to waste my hibiki, so we'll go with the Elijah Craig. From the measuring cup. Thank you so much, D. What, for dropping the straight hundy. Cheers to you, my brother. Thank you so much for being a super uber supporter. That might just make me be nice enough to give you an extended hour. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's get on with the defense. What are your predictions for the defense? If you haven't seen the defense, I've seen the defense, so I can't make any comments or predictions. But what's your view? Where do you think they're going to go? Are they going to present a great, wonderful narrative of this totally believable story, or is it going to be the Chandler Halderson Taylorship business opening? Just keep an open mind and rush to judgment and look at the evidence. Thank you. Where do you think is going to fall on that particular scale? And Unicorn has just become the newest member of the Clean and Sober crew. Thank you so much, Unicorn 11. Thank you. I hope you'll stick around. It's great having you here. Welcome to the Vice Squad, officially a Vice Squad member. And Unicorn 11 also dropped a 10-pound note. Dropped the tenner. Thanks, Jeff. We need you and Yoda to get through this. I would put the camera over here on Strawberry too, but we can't see much of Straub. Straub is hiding behind the corner there. They're reluctant because not only are they tired, but I washed their beds, and no matter how many times you wash a dog bed, it still smells like dog. So I sprayed it with like dog scent remover stuff, and they objected to that. But it smells nicer in this room. Thanks, Jeff. We need you. Thank you so very much for that. Appreciate that. Ooh, and the Japanese Yakuza dropping the heat with another essentially Hyundai. That's 1,100 sexy monies from Scandinavia area. Thank you so very, very much. The Japanese Yakuza won. All right. God, Sonia Chris is dropping. First of all, we got to do this for D what? Thank you so much. We've got to do this for the Japanese Yakuza. Thank you so much. But yes, we don't. As I said, rules are meant to be broken. Although we didn't technically get the proper number of yellow super chats to keep the goal going, we went like way freaking over that. So yeah, we can just remove that goal. We'll give it an extra hour. Okay, you guys just earned one more hour. All right, congratulations. We have hit the extend goal. So we're here for another hour. And Sonia Chris has gifted 5 Legal Vices memberships. If you got one of those 5 Legal Vices memberships, make sure you give Sonia Chris a super special thanks. That would be Marmite, Roseman Ranch, Cherry, Sarah 207, and Marie Behan. You got the 5 memberships from Sonia Chris. Give them a super special thanks. Thank you, brother. Respect, love. You too, Japanese Yakuza. You too, D what? And I owe another shot here for the Japanese Yakuza. But first, let me get this all set up. We will start the defense's opening statements. I think I've been saying opening arguments. That's my fault. I mean opening statements. All right, here we go. Let's start the stopwatch on. Let me bring up the stopwatch here, and we will time the length of the opening statement, shall we? Clock. Timer. No, we want the stopwatch, not the timer. Why is it not switching to stopwatch? There we go. Stopwatch. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go.
Turn to the defense. Does the defense wish to make an opening statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Orville Redenbacher is going to make the opening statement for the defense.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't intend to speak nearly as long as Mr. Dean did. Because frankly,
wait. Shh. What? No. The prosecutor's name is not, Mr. Dean. Oh, God, I swear to Christ, I heard Mr. Bean. I'm like, no. His name is not Mr. Bean. Okay, Mr. Dean. Cheers. I swear to God, he said Mr. Bean. See, Winterstorm heard it too. It wasn't just me. All right.
This whole case is about rumor, gossip, speculation, and innuendo, and ultimately the state's bold conclusions about what they say happened but can't prove.
Tim Biggin.
Unquestionably, this is an emotional case. I know that. I have 5 children, 4 grandchildren. So I understand how emotional this can be. But this case can't be decided based on emotions. It has to be decided on facts and evidence presented in this courtroom. It can't be determined by emotions or their rumors and their gossip and their conclusions. And in the end, what you will determine is that's exactly the foundation of the state's claims. A bunch of conclusions, bunch of declarations, unsupported by actual evidence. These declarations about she did this at 1 o'clock, she killed him, she drove here, and then all of that are their conclusions, what they have decided the evidence shows. But what is important?
Wait, so ignore the fact that her phone places her in front of a goddamn dumpster in the middle of the night. Ignore the fact that the camera shows her throwing her child's body into the dumpster. Ignore the fact that we tracked that dumpster to the landfill. Ignore the fact that they spent weeks sifting through the garbage and found the child's skull. Ignore all of that. I mean, if you set all that aside, well, maybe. He did not go there. Oh my God.
Trial is this witness stand where witnesses testify and evidence is presented. It's not what some lawyer says. It's not what the state declares the evidence to be. And that includes this discussion about the statements.
Okay, where he's going with this, he's going with he's saying what you just heard, all of this stuff you just heard isn't evidence. It's not evidence until it gets entered into court. So ignore it for now. And I hope to God it doesn't come in. That's what he's saying. So yeah, he's saying all that you heard, of course, everybody knows that the opening statements are not evidence. But he's just pointing that out. All that doesn't matter. It's what's presented here in court in evidence. All right, respect for that, but they're going to put it all in. And let's go, Brandon. Welcome to Clean and Sober Crew. This is like account number 843. Thank you very much. Let's go, Brandon, the newest member of the Clean and Sober Crew.
Mr. Dean has his ideas of what those statements represent, but that's your job. And it's not to simply rely on the state's conclusions about what they mean. The state has a conclusion. The core conclusion is that LEILANI Marie Simon murdered her child. The evidence will simply not support that bold conclusion. That is why, after we've heard all the evidence and all the argument, the evidence will lead you to one place. And that is a finding with respect to murder and concealing the death of another of not guilty. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I stopped and started, but factoring in the stops and starts, I put that at somewhere around 2 minutes and 20 seconds. That was a 2 minute and 20 second-ish opening statement, which, although it was well framed, it boils down to it's a rush to judgment. They can't prove it. Keep an open mind. Look at the evidence that's presented. Thank you. It's that argument that you were all wondering about, but it's packaged in a little better way than hopeless lawyers actually present it. Now, my understanding is this is a private attorney and not a public defender. So I guess he gets paid to make it sound better than examine the evidence, keep an open mind, and rush to judgment. Oh my God. Unicorn 11. Not only did you just become a member of the Clean and Sober Crew, you have just upgraded your membership to the upper echelons of bent halos and broken wings. Thank you very much for that. That's very kind of you. Wow. That's right, people. Now we know we have this one, which is classic. I hope you're talking about this trial, not something that I'm not paying attention to. But all right, now it's time for the prosecution to put up or shut up. It's time for them to begin the presentation of their evidence. and everything we just saw in opening will likely come in at some point. In the what else? I mean, what I usually call it the show and tell. It's the poor forensics person at the police department that has to go into court and just show all the pictures and all the videos and validate them. I'm not sure when the show and tell happens, but it will happen. Chloe Albert's revenge with the $2. I had sneezes longer than that opening. Exactly. But again, as we always say, just not a lot to work with, really, in the grand scheme of things. So, okay. Let's see what we got here.
This would probably be a good time to break for lunch, and then we'll resume testimony after the lunch break.
Oh, and that finishes right at the 154 mark here in our stream. As I said, this was originally planned as a 2-hour stream, but due to your extreme generosity and it being a Friday night, we're going to do an extra hour. So our extra hour will begin in just about 5.5 minutes. And buckle up, peeps. We are on the road. So let's go. I like this judge. She's all business. Oh, that's a severe hairdo that does not go well with those glasses or her nose. Weird. All right. That would just kind of surprise me.
Yes, ma'am. And I trust that you are all able to comply with my instructions not to research the case and not to discuss the case.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
all right. And for the record, everyone has either nodded their heads or responded yes. And with that, we're ready to get started. Mr. Dean.
Your Honor, the state call Sergeant Bobby Stewart.
Have to put our banner up here. Prosecution case. Officer Bobby Stewart. I have to take a guess. Is it going to be a UART or an EW? WART. I'm going to go with Stewart. STEWART. I could be wrong. We'll find out. Oh, I remember this old guy. This poor bastard. I mean, he's just like an old dude. He's just like, hey, this is what I saw.
The evidence should be the court and the jury determine this issue should be treated the whole truth with the truth.
Lisa, I know you do. Nobody is required or expected to give anything. Just sit back and enjoy it and talk to the rest of the chat and
Good
enjoy
afternoon, sir.
things.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Sergeant Bobby Stewart.
And is Stewart STEWART?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And what do you do for a living, sir?
I am a sergeant with the Chatham County Police Department.
That's the uniform?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long have you been a police officer?
Probably about 34.5 years.
And how long have you been a sergeant with the police department specifically?
Quite a while. I can't tell you exactly how many years, but it's been quite a while.
Now, what is your current position?
I'm a patrol sergeant, A-Watch.
What is A-Watch?
A-Watch is, we have different watches. We have A-Watch, C-Watch, D-Watch, and C-Watch, A, B, and C.
And are these different shifts?
Yes, sir. Different shifts.
What are the hours for A-Watch?
A-Watch, the hours now today is 6 to 6. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay, so it's essentially the daytime.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what is your position? The patrol sergeant for A-Watch, you said?
Yes, sir.
What are your responsibilities in that role?
My responsibility is for during the day, the shift that we're on. I'm responsible for doing the briefing. At the beginning of the shift, I assign officers to divisions in Chatham County.
Okay. Now, I'd like to draw your attention to the morning of October 5th, 2022, okay?
Yes, sir.
Were you working that day?
Yes, sir, I was.
And what were you doing on that day?
Patrolling Chatham County.
Okay. Any particular precinct or area?
I was in the West Chatham precinct of Chatham Parkway.
And were you the sergeant over all the patrol officers assigned to the West Chatham precinct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how many of them were there at that point? Patrol officers on the west side?
It was should be 7 or 8 that day.
Okay. Now, at some point on that day, on the morning of October 5th, did you respond to a call for service originating from 535 Buckhalter Road?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what was the nature of the call that brought you out there?
Missing child.
Now, when you get called out to a particular location on a particular call, do you yourself hear the 911 call?
You talking about on the radio?
Yes. Do you hear the 911 call that was made, or are you just getting a call from a dispatcher?
No, sir. I don't hear what was said when the person calls in.
Okay.
The only thing I get is the dispatch, what the dispatch tells us.
And the word from dispatch initially was it's a missing child call.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, did you go to 535 Buckhalter Road?
Yes, sir, I did.
And how did you get there?
It was in my marked patrol vehicle. I drove there. I think if I'm not mistaken, I went down Chatham Parkway.
And what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Chatham Parkway to Gorod Avenue to Buckhalter Road.
And what type of residence is 535 Buckhalter Road?
It's a 2-story, like a single family dwelling.
Okay. Do you see in front of you a document marked as States Exhibit 1?
Yes, sir, I did.
Can you look through that and tell us what it is, please?
It's it would be to the east of Highway 17 on Buckhalter Road, which is off of Gorod Avenue.
Well, I just mean, what is the document in front of you, States Exhibit 1? It's more than one page, is it not?
Oh, yes, sir. It is.
Okay. And what is it?
Just look like maps off of Google.
And do those maps accurately reflect the location of this residence in Chatham County?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd offer States Exhibit 1 into evidence at this time.
I think I've already seen that.
Yes, Mr. Hilliard, just make sure you speak loud enough so that Ms. Nally can capture your words.
I'm just gonna look through several of them. I think I've already seen them, Judge. I just want to make sure. Yes, ma'am. No objection. I've already seen all of these.
States Exhibit 1, is it?
Your Honor, may I now publish these on the screens?
Yes.
All right, I'm on slide 1 here of States Exhibit 1. This is the, I guess, Savannah, Chatham County metro area.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. And is 535 Buckhalter marked on
Yeah,
this,
let's go, Brandon. This guy's a
map?
paid defense lawyer.
Yes, sir. It is.
And can you step down and just point to us where that is on here? Okay. The red pin just to the left of Garrard Avenue.
That's correct.
All right. Thank you, sir. You can sit down. Now, moving on to slide 2. This is a beat map of Chatham County Police Department beat 7, correct?
Yes, sir.
And beat 7 is further broken down into a number of neighborhoods. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And is 535 Buckhalter marked on this map as well?
Yes, sir. It is.
And what is it marked by?
It is marked by Buckhalter and Gorod Avenue.
Is it that red pin there that we see?
That is correct.
Okay. And 535 Buckhalter then would be in the Garrard Buckhalter neighborhood of beat 7, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now moving to slide 3, what are we looking at here?
Slide 3 is showing Buckhalter Road. It's also showing the residence where we responded to.
Okay, and that's marked by the red pin there.
That's correct, sir.
And finally, slide 4, what are we looking at here?
Slide 4 is another photo of the residence, but it's a closer photo.
Okay. Now, when you responded to this resident, you mentioned you showed up in your patrol car. Where did you park?
I parked in the driveway just outside of the gate.
Okay, so the jurors can't see what you're pointing at on that picture. So if you could just step down and tell us where you parked.
This is the driveway here. I came in and I stopped just short of the gate.
Okay. And you can have a seat, sir. Thank you. And when you arrived, were there any other officers with you?
Yes, sir.
And who were those?
There was 2 other officers that came in behind me. Corporal Jefferson was one, and then the others also I think was Boss.
Okay. Daniel Voss?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What about Philip Gormley? Was he there as well?
He came in right behind him.
Okay. And when you arrived, did you make contact with the defendant?
Yes, sir.
Where did you make contact with the defendant?
Just as I walked through the gate, they were walking towards the gate.
And who's they?
I saw a female, the lady sitting here with the glasses.
Okay. The witnesses identified the defendant. And what other, aside from police officers, what other people were on scene at the time that you arrived?
Myself. You talking about officers, sir?
No, other than police officers, what other people were on
The
scene?
people that I saw the young lady there. I saw a male subject, which I later found out was her boyfriend. And there was a little small child. And there was one more person standing back behind them.
Okay.
I
And
think it
was
was her
it
brother.
her brother?
I think it was her brother.
Okay. And was there also a person there who was identified to you as a babysitter
Yes, sir.
and her daughter?
Yes, sir. She walked up behind me
Okay.
as when I got in, walked around the front.
Okay. Anyone else there that you remember who was there on arrival?
No.
Okay. Now, how did your initial contact with the defendant play out in the driveway right inside the gate there?
When I got there, she was walking towards me. She got to me and I asked her, "What's going on?"
And what did she say?
She told me that the child was missing.
Did she say when she had become aware of that?
Earlier that morning, if I'm not mistaken, I think she said around 6, I think, or something like that earlier when she had got it.
Okay. Wait, 6 was for when she got up or when the child might have gone missing? Do you remember?
I think she said when she woke up, she was looking for the child, shot one there.
Okay. And did she say anything to you about the door, the front door?
Yes, sir. She said when she woke up, the door was open, the front door to the house,
And the child was gone?
and the child was gone.
Okay. While you were there talking to her about this, did she cast suspicion on anybody who might have been responsible for the disappearance of her child?
Yes, sir. She did. She said her ex. She think that her ex might have took the child, and if I'm not mistaken, I think she said that was the child's father. I think.
Okay. So she said the child's father might have taken it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, as the senior man on scene, you were the senior man initially, right?
Yes, sir.
Once you've gotten this initial story, what do you then shift gears into doing?
Well, we shifted gears, and I asked her what was the last place she saw him, and she told me in the bed there, and then the front door. We assumed about him going out the front door. If he went out the front door, then it could have been the front yard, and then there was woods behind the house, and there was the roadway of Buckholder Road, which passed in front of the house and went south. So you get south of the house and then north of the house.
Did you task out some officers to search the house itself?
Yes, I did, sir. While I was talking to her, I asked her, did they search the house and look for him? She said yes. So I said, well, we're going to search it again. So I sent 2 officers in the house.
Do you remember which 2?
I think it was Gormley and I think Jefferson.
Okay. And did they go do that?
Yes, sir.
And what was, you mentioned Daniel Voss was one of the initial officers there with you. What was his role?
He was talking to the lady.
Okay. Did you, at any point, did you call other officers out beyond the initial 4, you, Gormley, Jepson, and Voss?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what did you want additional officers there for?
To aid in the search of the area. It was quite a big size area. And once they started arriving, I had officers check to the south of the residence, down to Veterans Parkway, and also had officers check to the north of the residence, up to Broad Avenue.
Now, you had officers canvassing the area looking for the boy himself, right?
Yes, sir.
And what else did you have them go out and look for?
I advised them to check the residence as they was checking the area, see if there was any cameras.
Okay, like Ring doorbell cameras and
Yes, sir.
things like that. So you had people out doing that.
Yes, sir.
And did you also have them canvassing for witnesses, potential people who might have seen the child either on his own or with somebody else?
Yes, we told them to knock on the doors and try to make contact with people that live there if they knew anything.
So the initial effort focuses on searching the house and searching the general area around the house, if I'm understanding you. Did you yourself personally search any particular area?
I did.
And can you tell us about that?
While I was standing just inside the gate, the backyard area, there was an open shed to the right. It had an RV. We walked over in that area, me and another officer, and checked it. And we left there and went. There was a shop directly behind the house. We checked that area, but it was locked up. We inquired about a key, but they said there was the gentleman who had the key to it wasn't there. So we searched around it, looked at behind the stuff that was there. Nothing.
Okay. So you weren't able to get into the RV initially because of lack of a key.
Correct.
Okay. Did the officers that showed up to help with the search efforts, where did they come from?
There was other officers that was assigned to my team that day.
Okay. The same beat 7 or different beats?
No, sir. It was from beat 8 and beat 9.
Okay. Those are other patrol areas in the West Chatham area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have other officers kind of flooding in from other places to help out?
Yes, sir. When you have a missing child, you call everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, you just
Now,
call
At
everybody
any point
in.
during your response, were you involved in making any follow-up on this
And that thing when what he just said, when you call it's a missing child, you call everybody in. The defense makes that sound like it's a bad thing during cross-examination.
claim by the defendant that perhaps the boy's father was responsible?
Yes, I did.
And can you tell us about that, please?
While I was myself and Officer Voss was there, I asked the lady if she knew where he lived.
You asked what lady?
The lady here with the black glasses.
Okay. You asked the defendant whether she knew where whom lived.
The ex.
Okay. The boy's father?
Yes, sir.
And what did she tell you?
She told me a county. I wrote it all down. She told me where he lived at. She gave me the county that he lived in. So what I did is I contacted that police department that's in that county.
And what did you ask them to do?
I advised them who I was looking for, in the name that I was looking for, and asked them did they know of him. And while I was talking to her, she told me she didn't know the address, but she gave me some reference points.
What do you mean by that?
Like she told me there was some reference points. There was a store. She told me the name of the store, and it was, I think she said it was a little campground or something, but she told me the name of it, and it was a large sign there. So I gave that information to the officer who called me back from the county.
Okay.
He told me, I think I know what it is.
All right. So you said she gave you some reference points of like businesses near
That's
where
correct.
the boy's father lived?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To kind of walk you on to the general area?
That's correct.
Okay. And was there any result from that while you were out there?
The officer that called me and talked to me, he went out and searched.
I'm sorry, Sergeant, I'm going to instruct you not to tell the court anything that someone else said.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Was calling that information out to the county in question, was that the end of your personal involvement in the follow-up on the suggestion that the boy's father might have had something to do with it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At any point, did any of your superiors show up?
Yes, sir.
And who was the first one?
Lieutenant Foster.
And where is he in relation to you in the chain of command, the rank structure?
He's my lieutenant for that watch.
Okay. About how long did he get there after you arrived?
It was pretty quick because once I got to initial information about what was going on, the standard is you contact your lieutenant and advise him what you have.
Okay. And did he come out and become the senior man on scene after a little while?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did anybody else from the Chatham County Police Department command staff show up?
Yes, sir. There was the detective showed up. There was the assistant chief showed up. There was the detectives, lieutenant captains. They all showed up.
Okay. Do you remember who was first on scene for the detectives?
I think it was Detective Lemons. I think that was the first person I made contact with. Talked to.
Okay.
There was other detectives there.
Did Detective Wilkins come out?
Yes.
And what about Detective Noble?
Yes, he was there.
Okay. At any point, was there a response by a canine tracking team?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about that? Where were they from?
They was requested. There was a county to the south of Chatham County, and that they came in. They called them in. I think it was around Reedsville.
And when they arrived, what did they do?
They came in. They was in the front yard, and they was talking to the lieutenant. And I guess after that, they went and did a search.
Now, you mentioned that detectives showed up after some time, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, once the detectives show up, who's in control of the scene?
The detectives.
Okay, so at that point, they took control and sort of relieved the patrol officers of command?
Yes, sir.
Okay. About how long were you at the scene total?
It was quite a while. Probably, I would say probably about 2 hours.
Now, you mentioned that the defendant, her boyfriend, and her brother were present at the scene when you arrived, right?
That's correct, sir.
Now, at some point, were they transported to headquarters for questioning?
They were.
And were you involved in that in any way?
No, sir. A couple of my units were. They assisted the detectives.
Do you remember who that was?
No, I don't.
Okay. Now, after your involvement at the scene concluded, were you involved in any other organized searches for the missing child?
I did.
Can you tell us about that, please?
Once I left Buckholder Road, I was advised to go to the church. There's a church that's located on the corner of Garrard Avenue and Lewis Mills Boulevard.
And what was happening at the church?
At the church, they was having other resources come in to do the search. Other officers were coming in, and I think they had a civilian search team that came in.
Okay, what do you mean by other resources coming in to do the search?
When they have something, and when they have events where they have missing children, they are calling in other agencies and ask for assistance, sheriff department, and then you just have a lot of other people come in and help us aid with the search.
And when did that search take place, and how long did it last?
It took place right after I left Buckholder. It came down. All the units started coming in. I think we had a representative from SEMA that was there too.
SEMA being Chatham Emergency Management
Yes, sir.
Agency or authority or something like that?
That's correct.
Okay. Roughly how many people were involved in this search that you're talking about that originated at the church?
I would say there was probably about 50 people.
And what were y'all doing?
Well, once they got into the church, they briefed them on what was going on, and they briefed them on the areas that they wanted to search.
Okay. And what happened after that?
And once that was over, they broke up in groups and they searched the area.
Everybody had a particular area that they were responsible
Yes,
for?
sir.
And how long were you doing that for?
I would say probably another hour. hour and a half.
Okay. What time of day are we at this point,
It's-
roughly?
It's getting dark. It's late afternoon.
Okay. And when had you initially arrived
To the church,
to the residence in response to the initial call?
it was, just a minute.
Sure.
I mean, this cop is just telling it like it is. He's just telling me what he did. I went there, I did this, these people came, we looked at this, we did this, we talked to this person.
Now, were you wearing a body worn camera that day?
Yes, sir.
Where was it located?
Straight
on your
up,
body?
straight
Right.
facts.
Chest.
And is that thing always running, or do you have to turn it on?
Yes, sir. It's on.
Okay.
We require, once you get on a call, it has to be on before we get out of there.
Okay. So how do you turn it on before you get out of the vehicle?
There's a round button in the center. You tap it twice and it activates.
And did you do that upon arrival in this case?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And were your interactions with the defendant that you've described captured on body worn camera?
Yes, sir.
And were the arrivals of some of these other officers captured on your body worn camera as well?
Yes, sir.
Do you see in front of you an envelope marked as State's Exhibit 2?
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize that?
Yes, sir.
How do you recognize it?
Well, I wrote my name and everything on front of it.
Okay. And that's an envelope, a sealed envelope.
Yes, sir. It's sealed.
What's inside of there?
It feels like it's a memory stick.
Okay. Is it a flash drive containing your body worn camera footage from that day?
That's what it feels like.
Okay. And you've reviewed that, right?
Yes, sir. I did.
Okay. And does it fairly and accurately depict your response to 535 Buckhalter in response to this missing child call?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd offer this into evidence as State's Exhibit 2.
No objection.
A minute.
And I'd like to just publish a little bit from the beginning of the file.
All right. Let's see what his body cam showed that day. Yes, I am definitely in the envelope crowd, not the envelope crowd. And Ronan Varhai says, just got here. Haven't we seen this guy on the stand before? Was that a different trial or someone else covering this trial? No, it was me. We did this 3 weeks ago. But it's been so long, I decided to restart. So we're just watching the beginning again, and we'll continue on Monday. So, and how come I didn't notice this woman in the background before? Hello. But is the interrogation video evidence? This is Flaming Dragon. It will be as soon as they introduce it into evidence, which they will do at some point. She has a pen. She appears to be a reporter of some
Yeah,
sort.
unfortunately, I need to take a moment to see what's going on with that.
Oh, they're having tech issues.
The time now is 1:10.
Let's fast forward through the tech problem break. They boomered something in court.
So they're
There we
back
go.
on the record. I understand technical difficulties have been overcome. Okay. So, Mr. Dean, you ready?
After unplugging it and plugging it back in again, you're ready.
That often helps. And that is the only method I know, unplug and plug back. Okay, so Mr. Hilliard, you're ready. Okay, let's
Did you unplug it and plug it back in? I like Judge Boomer. All right, jury's coming in. We can skip through the jury coming in.
From the very beginning of this video file of State's Exhibit 2, by playing from the very beginning of this video file, and I will state for the record when I stop the playback.
Okay. You can take running for y'all before you got log up yesterday.
Oh, come on, 11 o'clock. Your husband was worried about 6, so between 3 hour period. So out the front door, so I'm watching my son is not in his blanket.
So I've stopped the playback at 9:54:45 on the timestamp in the top right corner. Now, Sergeant Stewart, that timestamp in the top right corner of the frame, does that reflect the time of day it is?
Yes, sir.
And I asked you earlier about what time you responded, what time you got there. And I think you were testifying from memory at that point. But what does this video file reflect here in the top right corner is when you arrived and made contact with the defendant?
9:54 a.m.
9:54. Now, do you see in front of you a document marked as State's Exhibit 3?
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
It's a photograph of what you see when you first walk past the gate.
Just one or all stack of them?
There's a stack.
Okay. Now, are those still frames drawn from your body worn camera?
No, the
footage?
still frame is drawn from a
Do they
potato.
fairly and accurately depict the events that they're concerned with.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I'd offer this in the State's Exhibit 3.
Right. So that was the video of her saying, I just woke up and the door was open and my kid was gone. I don't know what happened. The door was just open. Does this accurately depict the state of the affairs on the day in question? Yeah, everything was blurry. It was a blurry day in Georgia.
Exhibit 3 is a composite exhibit.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Admit it.
Now publish, Your Honor. And may I be seated to scroll through these and question the witness? Thank you. Now, Sergeant Stewart, mainly these images depict different people and when they arrived, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's just go through these in order. This first slide has 9:54 and 28 seconds in the top right corner. And we can see the defendant walking down the driveway towards you, correct?
Yes, sir.
So this is your initial arrival.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
we can't.
This next slide.
Oh, we can't because
is shortly
my
thereafter.
my
she
camera
begins
was in the
talking
way.
to you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, in this next slide, slide 3, who is the gentleman on the far left? And you can look up on the screen.
this guy on the far left.
Might be easier for you.
You said far left.
Far left of this image.
That's Corporal Jefferson.
Okay.
The officer.
Moving on to the next slide. Who is that immediately to the right of Jepson that we see there with his hands on his body armor?
That looks like Officer Gormley.
Okay, so that would be Gormley.
Yes, sir.
And then to the right of Gormley, who is that with the notepad in his hand talking to the defendant?
Officer Voss.
Officer Voss. Okay. So these pictures that we've looked at, these all depict the people who were there initially, correct?
Yes, sir.
Moving on to slide 5. This is what time?
9:58:33.
So this is within just a few minutes of your arrival.
Yes, sir.
And who is the gentleman with no shirt there in the middle?
I think that's our brother.
Okay. And then the woman to the right in the image standing alongside the white vehicle, would that be the babysitter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's difficult to make out in this picture, but is her daughter standing right on the other side of her?
Yes, sir.
Now, what time is this next slide?
10:08:58.
All right. So how long after your initial response would this be?
14 minutes.
Okay. And who's that in the middle? Is that Officer Voss still?
Facing away from me is Officer Voss.
Okay. And who is that looking towards you?
That is Officer Carson.
Carlson?
Yes, sir.
Now, had she arrived since the initial response?
Yes.
And what was her role there?
She was tasked to do a search.
Okay. So is she one of the officers that you tasked out to look elsewhere?
That's correct, sir.
Now, who is this gentleman?
Lieutenant Foster.
And does this slide depict the approximate time of his arrival on scene?
Yes, sir.
And that is 11 minutes after 10?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that'd be about 15 minutes or so into your response.
Yes, sir.
In this next slide, is that Corporal Jepson on the left there?
Yes, sir.
Not the far left, but the person that we see right there.
Corporal Jefferson.
And who's that in the middle?
Officer Zerke.
Zerke.
Yes, sir.
And where did she come from?
From B8,
And what
Georgetown
was-
area.
Say again.
B8, Georgetown area.
And what was her role once she arrived at the scene?
She was tasked to search the area.
The next slide, we're at 16 minutes after 10. Who is this here?
It looks like Officer Naranjo.
Naranjo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And where did he come from?
He came from, I think, B9
Okay. And what was his role?
to search the area.
Now, in this next slide on the far left, is that Lieutenant Foster?
Yes, sir.
And who are those other two police officers?
That is Corporal Eam, the one facing me. And I think that is his trainee.
Okay. And what was his name?
I think it's Laurel Stewart, I think.
Okay. And did they show up to search as well?
Yes, sir.
Moving on to the next slide. This is at 10:22, correct?
Yes, sir.
So this be just under half an hour into your response?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Who is this that we're looking at here?
It is Latoya Brown. Miss
Say
Brown.
again?
Miss Brown.
Okay. Latoya Brown?
Yes,
did you
sir.
say? Okay. And what is her role with the Chatham County Police Department?
She's a CRO.
What is a CRO?
She goes around and take non-emergency calls.
She goes around.
Makes reports when people want to report this, whereas it doesn't require police officers to go out and take like a theft or something like that.
Okay.
She goes out and take a.
Community resource officer, CRO.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh,
You can't see.
and what was her role at the scene?
She was requested there to come in to keep up with the notes. Good scribe.
Okay. A scribe?
Yes, sir.
What
That's
is-
what was told to me, scribe.
Okay.
But to me, she was just there to take notes.
Okay. Notes on what?
What was going on? Who came in? What was said?
Okay. Now the next slide, we're at 1044, right?
Yes, sir.
So that would be
Whose G-Shock watch
about
is that
15
we
minutes
see in the
after
upper
you've
left-hand
gotten
corner?
there yourself, right?
Yes, sir.
And is that Lieutenant Foster in the middle?
It is.
Who is that in the dark colored jacket there standing next to him?
I think that's one of the detectives.
Do you know which one that is?
No, sir.
You don't know off the top of your head?
Not on my head.
As a watch enthusiast, I will give this officer mad props for rocking a G-Shock watch. G-Shock is god tier watch.
What is happening between the two of them?
I think the lieutenant's explaining to him about the incident that's going on here.
Okay. Explaining what about it? Just
Telling
what
him what-
information you'll have to this
what-
point?
Yeah, so what information he has.
Okay.
I briefed him when he got there, what I had found out,
You briefed who?
the lieutenant.
Okay.
And then that's probably what the lieutenant's briefing him about what we found out.
Okay. So you would brief Lieutenant Foster when he shows up, and then Lieutenant Foster briefs the detectives?
Yes, sir.
In the next slide, who is that in the tan pants and blue shirt arriving
that's-
at the scene?
A detective. I think that's detective. I think it's Noble. I think that's his name, Noble.
Okay, so that's Noble. In the next slide, who is this?
Lieutenant Thompson,
In the next slide, whose face are we looking at there?
Assistant Chief Shoop.
And who is this in the next slide?
That is she's the lady that does out the news releases and media releases.
The public information officer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what was she there for?
To cover the event. It was a missing child.
Were there news media present at this time?
Not that I know. I hadn't seen it.
Did they ever show up to the scene that day?
They did.
Okay. That's why she was there to deal with them?
She would be the one dealing with the media. Yes, sir.
Now, in this next slide, the time is 11:51, correct?
Yes, sir.
So this would be almost 2 hours into the police response to this scene.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, who is that gentleman that we see there?
It's a Marine Patrol officer.
Say Marine Patrol Officer?
Yes, sir.
What do they do?
They route the waterways around Chatham County.
Okay. Is he with the Chatham County Police Department or some other agency?
Yes, sir. He's with the police department.
Okay. Chatham County PD,
Yes, sir.
specifically the Marine Patrol.
Yes, sir.
And why was he there?
He came out, and like I said earlier, when we have a missing child, all resources in the department, if they can spare them, they send them.
And again,
In the next-
that's another important point. That's the important point to note again. He said it before and he just said it again. If it's a missing child, everybody who is available, everybody who can responds. Keep that in mind.
Next slide. Who are we seeing here with the sport coat and striped shirt on?
Lieutenant Cheney, I'm sorry.
Okay. And what unit was he with at the time?
The detectives.
Okay. So he was a lieutenant with the detectives?
Yes, sir.
In this next slide, it's noon now, right? 12 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're a little more than 2 hours in.
Yes, sir.
And who is that walking across the yard there?
That looks like Sergeant Coleman.
And what unit is Sergeant Coleman with?
Forensics.
Okay. So by this time, forensics is on the
Sergeant
scene.
Gary
Yes, sir.
Coleman. What you talking about, Willis?
In the next slide, 12:05, who is this that you're interacting with?
Assistant Chief Paulbert.
You can tell she's the assistant chief because she has 2 pens in her pocket, not just one.
Assistant Chief Paulbert.
And in the next slide, do you see a number of police officers in the blue shirt of the Chatham County Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Who are these other people in the olive drab and tan uniforms?
I think those are the people dealing with the K9, the search dogs.
Okay. And does this depict their arrival at the scene?
Yes, sir.
Now I'll move past this slide and move to the next one. What are we seeing in this slide here?
You see detectives and forensics officers talking to you.
Okay. And they're in the driveway of the house next door, correct?
Yes, sir.
Talking over the investigation.
That's correct.
Now, the gentleman in the foreground of this photo closest to us, is that Lieutenant Cheney of the Criminal Investigations Division who you talked about earlier?
Yeah,
We're talking about closest to us.
in the gray suit.
No, closest to us,
The guy facing us?
with his back to us.
Oh, that's not. Yes, sir. That's Lieutenant Cheney.
So that's Lieutenant Cheney. And who is that in the gray suit in the middle?
That is Chief Halley.
The Chief of Police for the Chatham County
Yes,
Police
sir.
Department. Who is that in the green shirt?
That is Captain Wright with the detectives unit.
Now, is it normal for multiple lieutenants, captain, in 2 assistant chiefs and the chief of police himself to show up to a call?
They show up on calls, how would you say, high profile calls like murders, stuff like that. Missing children and stuff like that. When we do a lot of searching and calling in a lot of resources, they come out to.
Yeah, the top brass, they always show up when there's a lot of media around. If it's just your average random killing, murder, theft, beating, assault, shooting, whatever, now the top brass never show up. But if it's a missing child or something serious where there's going to be a lot of media, the top brass always shows up.
So they come when it's important.
Yes, sir.
Now, this next slide, what time are we at now here?
12:31.
And who is that we see in this slide?
I think it's Detective Lemons.
All right. And what is happening at this time?
This is the front door of the house. The door that they said it was open.
And what's going on?
I'm explaining to her from where I am what they told me and that showing her the area, the room.
She's taking a look in the room.
Yes, sir.
And then finally, in the last slide here, what time are we at here?
12:43.
All right. So this would be almost 3 hours after your original arrival.
Yes, sir.
You got there at 9:54, 12:43, almost 3 hours.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what are we seeing here? What is happening here?
That is Lieutenant Foster, Detective Lemon, Captain Wright, and that is Captain Bandrich. Let's see the other person.
And that's Detective Lemons on the far right.
Yes, sir.
And what is she doing?
I guess they all breaking about the case. They're talking to each other about the case.
Okay. Talking about the plan to take
Yes, sir.
everybody to headquarters and conduct formal interviews.
I think that's what they were doing.
Let me ask you a little bit about the defendant's demeanor. Okay. I want to go back to when you first got there.
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you responded to missing children calls before?
Yes, sir.
About how many do you think you've responded to, if you had to estimate?
You want a number? I can't tell you the
Rough
number.
estimate.
It's been quite a few, sir. Quite a few.
More than 10, less than 10?
Or more than 10.
Okay. And have you had the opportunity to observe the demeanor of parents calling in that their child is missing and reaching out to the police for help?
Yes, sir.
What is it normally like?
Most of the time when we get to a residence where a child is missing, mother's upset. She's hysterical. She's crying. She's telling us, "What are you standing here for? Talking to me? You should be out looking for my child. You're wasting time." And they're so hysterical. A lot of times you can't talk to them.
Was the defendant like that in this case?
No, sir.
Did you view her demeanor as consistent with that of other parents that you've spoken to in missing children cases?
No, sir, I didn't.
Let me go back to the first slide. I guess it's actually the second slide. Do you see this here?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Penny
Now-
Ward, this is in Georgia.
Does it look to you like the defendant is crying?
Look like she's trying to cry.
Okay, now this is the only part I have problems with. Does she look like she's crying? Looks like she's trying to cry. And I've said this before. Everybody reacts to trauma, shock, whatever differently. Some people cry, some people don't. If whatever they mention, it's always the wrong answer. Is she crying? No. Oh, she's not crying because she's faking it. Is she crying? Yes. She's crying because she knows she did it. Yeah, it's I don't really like this. This is my only complaint with the testimony. How people react and what people show is not really anything even remotely reliable as to what happened. I just don't like that part.
Is that what it looked like to you that day at the time that she was trying to cry?
Ronan Varhai says, can you rewind a couple of seconds? There's someone peeking in the window that would make a great still shot or thumbnail. What? I see nothing like
Let
that.
me go back
Whatever.
to the first slide. I guess it's actually the second slide. You see this here?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, does it look to you like the defendant is crying?
Looked like she's trying to cry.
Is that what it looked like to you that day at the time that she was trying to cry?
Yes, sir.
Did it appear to you that she was actually crying or no?
I mean, there's some, you can see there was some water on her face, but it wasn't like I told you. She wasn't hysterical. She wasn't crying, just crying out. Well, you saw big tears coming out of her.
Okay. One moment, please. No further questions, Ron.
All right, in just a moment, Sergeant. Mr. Hilliard may have.
All right, we're gonna be going into the defense's cross-examination, and I got to admit, like, we ended at the last time we started this. We ended at the end of the cross-examination of this case of this witness, and it's probably where we are going to end up ending today. But it irked me. Everything I told you to remember, like namely how everybody responds, every available person responds to a missing child scenario. Just look what the defense does to that.
I have some questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Are the defense lawyers twins? Are they just twins? Are they clones? Who are these people?
Sergeant Stewart, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, Sergeant Stewart, you were one of the first ones to respond on the scene that day, correct?
Yes, sir. One of them.
All right. And I'm curious, you said you have 35 years worth of experience in law enforcement, correct?
Yes, sir.
So in your 35 years of experience in law enforcement and you arrive on a scene of a crime, what's one of the first things you've been trained to do?
Go up and make contact with the complainant.
Okay. And then what next?
Talk to him, find out what's going on.
Okay. And then what next?
If I need to call in other resources, I do.
Okay. Now, in a case like this where there may have been an abduction that took place or transpired, especially from inside the home, would you secure the scene?
Yes, sir. That's what we had other officers to do that.
Well, we'll get back to that in a minute. So you had officers do that. Which officers were doing that exactly?
Let me see who I had out here. I had quite a few officers out there that day, sir. I know Jefferson was there after they had searched the house. He came down. And Gormley, he came down.
Okay.
And for you talking about securing the scene, the house?
Yeah. So
Yes,
isn't it normal routine that you secure the scene where there may be some forensic evidence for you to seize or look at?
That's correct.
Okay. And wouldn't securing that scene mean you prevent people from going in or out?
That's correct.
Okay. Wouldn't it also mean that when you send techs in to go ahead and secure or look or search or do something like that, they would actually be wearing gloves or have some sort of bodysuit on so they would not contaminate the scene?
Yes, sir. You talking about the officers that went in and searched
Talking about all of the officers that were out there. It seemed like you had an ungodly amount of people out there that day.
That's correct.
Listen to that shit. It seems like you had an ungodly number of people there that day. Everybody just walking through the crime scene. So he's literally criticizing them for having too many people mobilized to search for a missing 20-month-old child. And they're all supposed to be walking around in these, astronaut spaceman Tyvek suits. You just have an ungodly number of people out there.
Okay. You still have State's Exhibit in front of you?
Which
State's
one?
Exhibit 3?
This one.
Can I approach this one?
Oh, this one. Okay, I got it.
It's the big exhibit with 27 pictures. Okay. You got 27 pictures here in front of you that Mr. Dean just meticulously went over with, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's start with number one. Number one is the first one, 954, right? This was literally as you drove up on the scene, wasn't
Yes,
it?
sir.
Okay. Was your body camera operating at that point in time?
It was.
Okay. And this is a still of that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, wouldn't the best evidence of that interaction, rather than your conclusion, be the actual video of that?
I don't understand.
Okay. So you arrive on the scene at 9:54 that morning, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You have an interaction. This is what.
Now, this is one of the most retarded arguments you will ever hear in a court case. He's asking this witness something this witness, A, has no idea about, and 2, is completely irrelevant to anything he testified to. He's saying, well, you testified. What he's generally saying is you testified to what's on your body camera. But wouldn't it be better just to show your body camera? Wouldn't that be better evidence to show your body camera rather than to have you testify what's on your body camera? Like somehow trying to show that he's distorting it or lying or not telling the truth or hiding something because they're not showing the actual body camera footage. This is a horribly stupid capital R worded argument from the defense.
What we're looking at in this particular photograph, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, rather than your conclusion being what they put in front of this jury, wouldn't the actual video from that body-worn camera be a better indicator of what actually transpires?
Of what I saw.
Right. That's not what Mr. Dean offered, was it? He offered your conclusion, correct?
He asked me what I thought.
Right. So let's go to the next one. Picture number 2. Same thing. Rather than the actual evidence, he offered your conclusion, correct?
Objection. Argument.
Sustain.
Okay. Let's talk about number 2. That's actually part of the video as well, is it not, Sergeant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did Mr. Dean offer your actual video of that interaction? No, he didn't, did he?
Again, stupid argument.
I would ask that the witness be allowed to testify.
Well, he has to actually testify, Judge. I asked a question and it hung out there. He looked confused, so I'll withdraw it and rephrase it.
Okay, thank you.
Sergeant Stewart, these are stills lifted from your body-worn camera from that day, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've reviewed the body-worn camera, right?
Yes, sir.
It's good video footage, right?
That's correct.
That's the best evidence of what actually transpired that day, was it not?
Yes.
This is not his point. This is an argument between the lawyers and the judge. The defense lawyer should be making this argument. This should be an objection to the introduction of the evidence. He should be saying objection based on what's called the best evidence rule. What is the best evidence of what you're talking about? You should make that objection before the evidence is introduced into the record. He should be saying those stills and this whatever this police officer is going to testify to is not the best evidence. The best evidence is the video. And they should introduce the video. Then they should put the guy on the stand and testify about the video and the still images. But this police officer doesn't decide what the prosecution puts into evidence. He's just answering the questions he's asked. This is like borderline offensive arguments made by the defense lawyer here. Like he is grilling this guy. He's criticizing this guy for a decision made by the prosecutor. That is utter and complete crap.
Objection. Argument.
Okay, he objected on the basis of argumentative.
I don't think it's argumentative.
And you do have him on cross-examination. However, I think the point is you are asking the sergeant questions about technically best evidence.
Yep. See, sometimes I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I actually act like a practicing lawyer. Ooh, spooky.
Praise the judge. What actually transpired was recorded on your video, correct, Sergeant?
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Dean asked you to state your conclusion about that, correct?
He asked me to think about this same thing.
Right. So didn't play the video, did he?
No.
Again, that's not within the purview of this officer. The officer has no say in whether or not the prosecution plays a particular video or shows pictures about the video or questions an officer about it. This is just stupid.
Let's move on.
Let's move on because you sucked with that line of questioning.
These 3 particular officers, are these officers there to search?
Yes, sir, they were.
Did they search?
They searched the house.
They went in the house, and I'm just curious, was that before or after this picture?
After.
Okay. Did they don any particular gloves or clothing or anything to protect the scene, or just go in and search?
I couldn't tell you, sir, because I was standing here. I was not around the back door when they went in the house.
Well, but you know what you saw. Did you see them do that?
Here, no. When they went out of my sight, I don't know what they did.
And that is a brilliant answer. He's like, did they wear the suits? He's like, I don't know. They're on the other side of the damn house. He's like, well, you saw what you saw. Did you see him? He's like, hey, after they're out of my sight, I don't know what the fuck they did. This defense lawyer, he's got to do his job. He's got to ask the questions. He's got to somehow do what he can to call into question the credibility of the officer, but it's still upsetting the hell out of me because it's just so dumb.
Okay, well, let's parse this out a little bit then. Did you see him go to, say, I don't know, the back of their car and pull out some gloves?
Most officers carry gloves on their uniform, sir.
Did you see them carrying gloves?
I can't tell you what was in their pocket.
Okay. Well, all right. Did you see them put on any gloves?
I did not.
Did you see them come out and pull any gloves off?
I did not.
So you didn't see him grab any, didn't see him put any on, didn't see him pulling off, but you can't state conclusively that they didn't put any on.
I cannot tell you that.
Okay. Let's look at number 5.
So
These particular two
freaking
officers
what?
here. Did you see them do that?
You're going to do each exhibit from State's Exhibit 3. Do you mean for the photo to correspond on the screen?
Judge, I assume because they've already been tendered, the jury's going to have these.
They're going to have them.
So I really don't care whether they see it right now or not. But. So Sergeant Stewart.
Yes, sir.
These particular two officers. Which two officers are these again?
Officer Voss and Corporal Jackson.
Same question to them. Did you watch them search?
Officer Voss, no. He stood there and talked to the complainant.
And how about the other officer?
Corporal Jackson? No, sir. I did not see him search inside the house.
So neither one of them went inside the house.
Corporal Jackson did.
Okay. Did he put on gloves when he went in?
I can't tell you that, sir.
And let's go to picture 7. This is, I think it's one of the lieutenants, if I'm not mistaken. Is that Lieutenant Foster?
Yes, sir.
Did he help in the search?
No, sir.
Okay. He stayed outside the whole time.
Yes, sir. As far as I know.
Okay. How about picture 8? These two officers. I think one of them Jefferson. I don't know who the other one is.
Corporal Jefferson and Officer Zerke.
Zerke. Did Zerke help in the search?
Outside of the house.
She searched outside.
Yes, sir.
All right. And let's go look at picture number 9. That officer, which officer was that?
Officer Norano.
Okay. And same question for him. Did he help in the search?
He was outside.
Outside?
Yes, sir.
And when you say outside, we're talking about out in the pool area, the RV, all of that area, correct?
Outside of the house.
Not inside the house.
No, sir. I never saw him inside the house. Never told him to go in there.
Now, and I'm curious, is you said it's Miss Brown. She's a CRO, correct?
Yes, sir.
She arrived at 10:22, which is about 30 minutes after you arrived, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
A little bit more than 30 minutes.
Okay. Well, that's fine.
Yeah, right about 30 minutes. Yes, sir.
35, 40 minutes. Doesn't really matter. Does she normally come out and start taking notes for people?
No, she was requested to come out.
And see, again, he's going off on the PR person there, the public relations officer. There's going to be cameras there. There's going to be news out the ass there. There's going to be so many people there. And he's somehow being critical that they brought out the PR person. If there was going to be cameras, if there's going to be public interest in the search for a 20-month-old child who just went missing, you better goddamn well have your PR person there to field questions and answer things. This is unconscionable. Absolutely unconscionable. They criticized the fact there were so many police officers there. Now he's criticizing the fact that the public relations person was requested to be on scene. So ridiculous. And speaking of ridiculous, holy shizbots. Sebastian Mueller has just taken it upon himself to try to banish all of the gray from the chat and make everybody a member. Sebastian Mueller has just dunked Fitty Legal Vices memberships. Sebastian, you freaking hero, you OG hero. Thank you so much. If you're one of the bajillion people that just got a free gifted membership from Sebastian Mueller, give him a ridiculously large, super all caps thanks. Thank you so much for doing that. That is crazy. And that actually puts us into like the 5th and 6th tier achievements. But unfortunately, we only have 3 tiers of achievements. I don't even know what to do for 4th, 5th, and 6th tiers of achievements. So hang on. The 3rd tier of achievement is just a shot of pure absinthe, pure real absinthe. God, this will just have to take the place of everything. So thank you so much, Sebastian Mueller, for that ridiculously generous donation and gift of 50 Legal Vices memberships to the peeps in chat. Cheers, Sebastian. Respect.
Requester, just out of curiosity.
My lieutenant.
Lieutenant requested the note taking. Okay. Now, so then the next picture is picture 12. It has a detective in it. Did the detective help search?
Not that I know of.
Okay. And picture 13, it looks like it's another detective, Noble, if I'm not mistaken. But is that Detective Noble?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did he help search?
Don't know, sir.
Okay. What did he do then?
As far as I know, when he walked up, they was all talking, doing their detective stuff.
Now, and picture 14.
Just doing detective stuff.
This officer. Which officer is that?
Thompson.
And what was his duty?
He just came out to assist the lieutenant.
If you had to guess that day, how many people were out there?
Stop. Just stop. Just literally stop. Let's go, Brandon. Just dumped 50 Legal Vices memberships. Guys, oh, come on. That's 100 Legal Vices memberships that have been dunked in the past 2 minutes. Holy crap, guys. I was speechless before. I got nothing now. Just thanks. That's all I got. Thanks. Oh, come on. Now Sebastian's throwing down 20 more memberships. Wait, that's the wrong button. Holy cow. All right. I'm deep breaths. I'm confused. This is what I wanted. No, this is what I wanted. I'm just befuddled by what's going on here in chat. Yeah, MG, I will. Yes. Yeah, I all I got's Godzilla, man.
Run! It's Godzilla!
Thanks. 120 Legal Vices gifted memberships in the past 3 minutes. That's stupid. I'm going to push play, and then I need to go hydrate. I need water. I'll be right back. Oh no, geez, I'm not like boomering it. I'm just stunned. I was momentarily confused. AT1. I was taken ridiculously out of my comfort zone. Yeah, how unlucky do you have to be still be gray after 120 gifted memberships? Seriously. Oh, Squid. Oh no, Squid. I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to push play. I'm going to go get some water, and I'll be right back.
From the time you got there at 9:45 or so till 12:45.
Quite a few people, sir.
A large number of people.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Or did you say it's an unusually large number of people?
No.
Okay. You said you've been doing this for 35 years. Look at picture 16.
Yes, sir.
Who made the determination to call out the public information officer?
I can't tell you that, sir. I don't know. I didn't request it.
It wasn't you.
It wasn't me.
Okay. Is that something you would normally do?
No, sir.
Okay. And with regards to the rest of these pictures, over the course of the 3 hours you were there, is it safe to say that more and more and more and more people showed up?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. And where did they focus their search at when they got there?
I don't know where they focused their search. I can tell you where I focused.
So where did you focus your search?
My search was the wooded area behind the house, the roadway south of the residence, and the roadway north of the residence. All the houses around that area.
Okay. Now, what time did the media show up?
Don't know, sir. I didn't see the media.
How long were you there that day?
I was there for quite a while.
It's safe to say 6, 8, 9 hours easily.
At that house, I know it was more than 3 hours.
So you were at the house more than 3 hours.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You didn't call the media, did you?
No, sir, I didn't.
Okay. And that would not be something you would normally do either, would it?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, who was it that called the canine search dogs?
That was something that Lieutenant did.
All right.
Lieutenant Foster.
How many, I'm just curious, Mr. Dean, how many missing child calls have you ever responded to?
Quite a few, sir. Over the time I've been.
10, 20?
I know it's been more than 10.
More than 10?
Yes, sir, it's been more than 10.
Less than 20?
I would think it's been more than 20.
Been more than 20?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And have you had any specialized training in that area or no?
Searching for children? What area are you talking about?
I would say missing children's investigations.
We've got classes on it.
A class on
Some
it?
classes, yes.
Some classes on it? Okay. And how long ago was that?
We haven't had anything recent. It's been a while.
10 years?
I think it's less than that.
5 years?
This lawyer is just
7
unsavory.
years?
I've said 5.
All right. Now, let's talk about when you originally got there. The people.
Who's asking the question? The defense lawyer. I think these two defense lawyers are actually clones of each other. One just like got the hair, the other shaved. I don't know. But yeah, this is the defense asking the stupid questions. He's just distasteful. He's just unsavory.
People that were on scene when you got there was Daniel Youngkin, Paul Simon, Miss McCarta, and her daughter, correct? 4 adults.
Babysitter.
Excuse me?
The name you called last. Is that the babysitter?
The babysitter and her daughter.
Yes.
So it's 4 adults that you saw when you got there.
Yes, I think it was 4.
Okay. And I have a question for you. What was the first question you asked when you got there?
I asked her what was going on. What was happening? What's going on?
Right. And what were you told?
She told me her child was missing.
Look at how he's like, and what was that first question you asked when you arrived? What happened? Oh, yeah, you asked what happened. What were you told? I don't like this guy. This guy is really, really distasteful. I hate when lawyers fold their arms in court. I legitimately hate it. It's sort of like an FU sort of thing. It's some sort of like power dominance thing that just doesn't work. It comes off as boorish. I hate it.
And now you made a distinction here, so I'm going to ask a very specific question. Did you ask if she had an idea of who may have taken the child, or if she had an idea of any suspects?
Well, she kept saying someone took my child. So do you have an idea who?
Right. So you asked that question, which is a normal question, right?
Yes.
That's a normal question, right?
Yes,
and she responded to that question, correct? So nothing unusual about that. That's a normal question you'd ask.
Yes, sir.
Hey, General T, I'm glad your surgery went well.
He was saying something.
Objection.
I'm not asking what he said. I'm just asking if he said something to him. That's all.
You may proceed.
Right.
He was saying something.
Right. So, Mr. Youngkin, you talked to him as well.
He was standing there when I was talking to the lady.
Right. So, you were interacting with Mr. Youngkin, Miss McCarta, her daughter, and Miss Simon all at the same time, and they were all standing right there in front of each other.
The babysitter was. I don't think she was there when I was talking to the lady.
So you pulled him to the side?
No, it's just when I first walked in, I saw her boyfriend, and their little child.
Okay. So that picture, I guess, this right here is what you're describing, with the exception of you can't see the child, right?
Correct.
Right. Okay. So, and was it a few minutes later when it was the babysitter and the daughter and them as well? Correct.
That's correct. And Officer Boss was talking to him. I wasn't talking to him. I was standing back.
Okay.
Maybe he's just cold in Georgia in October.
I would go back and review that report, but that report pretty much contained everything that you have listed right here and everything you testified to here today.
Pretty much.
That's all the questions I have as witness, right?
All right, thank you, Mr. Dean. Any follow-up?
There you go.
All right, thank you. Sergeant,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
is there any reason the sergeant should not be excused?
There you go.
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, everybody. That is the perfect place. We ended 30 seconds shy of 3 hours. And so we will begin with the next witness on Monday. Again, thank you for bearing with me as we go through this again. This is the second time we've done the openings in this witness, but we did the first time 3 weeks ago, and then we got sidetracked by Sarah Boone. So we went back to start again. Rather than just continue, I thought, let's refresh everybody's memory. Let's start it again. And thank you for 453 of you being here with me right now at this point in time. We'll pick this up again on Monday, right where we left off. And we'll go through till the end. If I remember correctly, it was 9 days, I want to say. I believe it was a 9-day trial. Thank you so much, everybody. Let me just give you a quick rundown of what's going to be happening over the next week. I am out of here. I have a train to catch in 11 hours. I'm going up north to Seoul. As many of you know, if you know who Johnny Somali is, cool. If you don't know who he is, just Google the mofo. He is in Korea causing all kinds of problems. I'm going to Seoul. I have my camera with me. I might be doing a little content hunting, but I will also be meeting up with Andrew, Legal Mindset. We're going to hang out for the weekend and do some stuff. And then, so that's going to be my weekend. And there might be some content hunting. There might be some Johnny Somali hunting. Anyway, I'll be hanging out with Legal Mindset and a couple of other people in Seoul over the weekend. And I'll come back on Sunday afternoon, beginning Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and until Thursday. Until Thursday, we will be doing this trial. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There will be no stream next Friday. Because Andrew will be coming down from Seoul to Busan. We're going to hang out here in Busan with myself. Andrew, Meme Copium is going to come over from Japan, and we're just going to kick it for the weekend. So there will be no show next Friday, but next Thursday, there's a possibility that Meme Copium will be here in my house doing a joint stream with me. It might not be this trial, but it might be. I don't know. Well, I guarantee you Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be this trial. Thursday is a possibility, but Meme Copium will be here probably regardless. Friday, no show. And then we'll pick this trial up again on the following Monday. I just want y'all to know well in advance what's going to be happening. Before we shut this down, let me find a place for us all to go. Where do we want to go? Who's streaming what? I usually toss this to the Young Thug trial, but the YSL Young Thug trial is no more. There was a huge settlement in there, and I think we need to get Nick Starro, Cat Not Williams, and others on a stream at some point in the future to explain exactly what happened. Because suddenly there was no trial. He copped to a plea deal, got the time served, and is done. So I'm not quite exactly sure where to send everybody right now. Let's see. Who's doing what? It's interesting to see what everybody who is streaming YSL is suddenly not doing. Romance novelist. Mystery Science Theater, Riff Raff. We got lots of Mystery Science. Legal Friday with Laid Back Law. Who's on Laid Back Law? Huh. Dang. There's really nowhere to send you right now. So I'm just going to throw you out into the wild, and wherever you want to go, wherever your YouTube sends you is where you're going to go. Everybody, all BS aside, all BS aside, thank you so much to the mods who are here tonight. Thank you, mods, for being here and keeping everybody entertained in this horrible, heavy, just grotesque and awful trial. Thank you, mods. Thank you, chat. For those of you that were just here hanging around, chatting with each other, keeping each other entertained, keeping on the right side of the line, bless you. The Vice Squad is hands down the most amazing, wonderful, best chat on the internet. And thank you to all of those of you that super chatted and got us to all of our respective goals, particularly day 49 of the emotional support potato pig dogs. Monday, we will see if we get to day 50 or not. Thank you for that. Thank you for the purchase memberships, and a ridiculously huge thank you to Let's Go Brandon and you guys. I am it still kind of freaks me out a little bit, to Let's Go Brandon and Sebastian Muller for gifting 120 Legal Vices memberships. Sonia or Chris gifted 5 as well. Do not forget him. Thank you so much for those gifted memberships, people. That's just crazy. One more shot for the road, I say. One more shot for the road. Cheers, and thank you all for the amazing support. God, that's great. Oh, Stephanie Morey says, challenge accepted for day 50. And we'll have to see how that goes. But thank you for taking up arms. And D What also dropped a hundo. We got the Yakuza in there. Yeah, seriously. I mean, just thanks to everybody. The Japanese Yakuza dropped a hundy. D What dropped a hundy. God, this was a stupid day. This was ridiculous, and I do not know how to thank all of you. But Mavia has a suggestion. So since you had no planned rewards for the tier 4 through 10, it's just free doggo days, right? I saw that in the contract. You read the wrong contract. The dogs are still behind a paywall every day. Every day. No, thank you. God, thank you guys. I honestly I don't understand it, but thank you. From the bottom of my crusty old mustachioed heart. Everybody, thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to send you off into the netherworld. I'm going to go to Seoul, hang out with Andrew, Legal Mindset, and we'll do this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Josh from Meme Copium will be here. I don't know what we'll do. Probably this, maybe something else. And then next Friday, there will be no show because I'll be hanging out with Legal Mindset and Meme Copium here in Busan and having a good time. I need a day off. Bless you all. Thank you so much. See you on Monday. And now one last thing. Monday will be under the United States Daylight Savings Time. Screw Daylight Savings Time, by the way. Wait, no, is it standard time? Okay, yeah. Daylight savings time is in. I don't freaking know, because we don't do that stupid shit here in Korea. Korea tried to do daylight savings time. It lasted once, and they said, it's just screwing with our biorhythms. We're done. So Korea does not participate in this BS that is turning your clocks an hour ahead and an hour back a couple of times a year. So whatever it is, the U.S. is backing their clocks off an hour this weekend. So for those of you in the U.S., we will be starting not at 9 a.m. Eastern. We will be starting at 8 a.m. Eastern, beginning on Monday. So Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern United States time, we will be back with more of the LEILANI Simon toddler murder trial. Thank you, everybody. I just want to stay here and talk to you and continue to thank you for what you guys have done today. But I need to sleep because I got a train to catch. I got a Somali to hunt, and we'll see you tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow. We'll see you on Monday. Peace, love, everything else. God bless all of you. I'll love you. Love you all to death. Good night and goodbye from me, Yoda, and Strawberry. Bye.